Okay, it is 6 o'clock. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the City of Independence, we are calling this Planning Commission meeting of June 25th to order. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our meetings, it is the responsibility of this commission to go over plats, codes, policies that relate to city planning, and so we hear cases to that effect, and we give people the opportunity to speak either for or against cases. So having said that, first we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Staff, will you give a roll call real quick, please?
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Here.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Here.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Here.
Commissioner Wiley.
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Here.
And Chairman McLean.
Here. Thank you. For all those of you who think they would like to speak, and I do mean think, if you're not really sure but you're sitting on the edge, I would like for you to stand and be sworn in. Applicants for sure. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after, do you all swear to tell the truth before this commission? If so, say I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, commissioners, first thing on our agenda is the minutes, our consent agenda. Did you all have a chance to look them over?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
And Chairman McLean.
Yes. Consent agenda has passed.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that we dismiss case 24-400-12, short-term rental at 8841 East 16th Street. That's number 9 on our docket.
Yes. So number 9 in your packet is we're going to continue this case. Do you have a date
No,
for that?
it dismissed, wasn't it?
You're going to dismiss it?
I think you mean 8, don't you?
Was it 8? Did we
Yeah,
get
16th Street's 8.
Jeff Cruzon, just Professor Cruzon, yeah. Yeah, we have 9, 16th Street. Is that right? That's what you give us.
It's case 24-412, correct?
Yeah, that's what I got down, yes.
Okay.
Number 9.
That's 8 on ours, but that as long as we identify the case number, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Dismissed. Yes.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second, and we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
And Chairman McLean.
Yes. All right. First,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I make a motion that we move the case number 5 and 6, UDO amendments to the end of the docket till we clear all the rest of them.
Yes, so if you'll see in your packet, we've got 5 and 6 are UDO amendments. They're a little bit lengthy, so if somebody wants to second, we'd like to move it to the end so these kind people with shorter cases don't have to wait.
I'll second.
Thank you. We're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
And Chairman McLean.
Yes, so the UDO cases, case 24-17503 and case 24-17504 will be moved to the end of the meeting. Okay, so first case we have is a continued case number 24-100-05 rezoning of 1301 South Noland Road. Staff, will you give us a report?
Yes. All right. As you mentioned, this is case 24-100-05. This is a rezoning case. This was continued from a few weeks ago, or I think 8 or so weeks ago. So some of you may remember this. The applicant is Carolyn Richardson, and the action is to rezone the property from C2 general commercial to R6 single family residential. So the property is on the southeast corner of Fair and Noland. It's just south of the McDonald's on Noland Road. So here's the zoning map. You can see that the property is currently zoned C2, but does abut R6 single family residential on the east side of the property. The comprehensive plan calls for this kind of entire area to be community commercial, basically general commercial C2 type land use. And here's the notification map. These are the list of properties that were notified of the hearing as required by code. So for the background. The applicant purchased this property in 2019 and has been living in the building in addition to operating her business. According to the applicant, there have been several security issues on the property. To address this, the applicant has applied for a building permit for a commercial fence. The fence as proposed was not approved because of the limitations placed on commercial fences per section 14-400-02C of the UDO. Although not approved, the applicant began erecting the fence on the property. A stop work order was placed on the property on November 27, 2023. After receiving the order, the applicant came to City Hall to discuss the options available to continue to erect the fence and use the property as a residence. Rezoning the property to R6 will allow for the applicant to continue to live on the property and build a fence in accordance with the residential fencing standards. The applicant will be able to continue to operate her business as a minor home business as it meets all the requirements outlined in section 14-400-03G of the UDO. So the property history. The property was originally platted in 1887 as part of the Walnut Park subdivision. The history of the property is difficult to determine. The Jackson County Parcel Viewer map does not have any information regarding the year the structure was built. However, it has clearly been on the property for several decades and is residential in appearance. In 1965, when zoning was introduced, this property was designated as R1 single family residential. A citywide rezoning has initiated in 1980. A citywide rezoning was initiated in 1980. At this time, the property was rezoned to C2 general commercial. Throughout the 80s and the 90s, this property was an office building for the International University, Missouri, a Christian ministry and non-traditional higher education institution. In 2009, with the adoption of the current version of the UDO, this property remained C2 general commercial. The property remained vacant and for sale for several years. The applicant purchased the property in 2019 and began living and operating her business at the property. The subject property has an appearance of a single-family home with a garage in the rear. The primary structure on the property is a large building with a stone facade that faces Noland Road. The front yard in the property is raised a few feet with a retaining wall adjacent to the sidewalk. A two-car garage faces Fair Street on the north side of the property. The size of the property is just shy of a quarter acre at 0.0225 acres. The characteristics of the area. The properties along Noland Road are almost entirely commercial properties. A small park sits on the northwest corner of Noland and Fair intersection. McDonald's and Quick Trip operate on the properties north of Fair Street. Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and a variety of their businesses in a strip mall operate on the west side of Noland. The Chop Shop, a clothing store, and Captain D's lie directly south of the subject property. East of the property is primarily residential. A small apartment complex lies on the northeast corner of Fair and Dodgen. The other properties to the east are mostly single-family residences. So the consistency for the with the Independence for All strategic plan. Rezoning this property is consistent with the strategic plan. One of the objectives of the plan is to increase the perception of safety. One of the primary reasons that the applicant has applied for the property to be rezoned is so that a 6-foot privacy fence can be built in accordance with the residential fencing standards. The applicant indicated that having such a fence would help her feel safe in her home. The comprehensive plan guiding land use principles for the current designation. The comprehensive plan envisions the future land use of this property and the surrounding areas to be community commercial. However, the property in its current state is not well suited for commercial use. The existing structures are better suited for residential functions. For sub-area plans, this property is located within the Noland Road Community Improvement District. The public utilities, all the utilities are present on the property and in the adjacent rights of way. In the CIP investments, there are currently no CIP investments in this area. Then I did want to add, forgot to add this on the presentation, but the supplemental staff report. Some of you may remember this was originally scheduled for a public hearing in January 23, 2024. Currently, the property is being used as a single-family home with the applicant living at the property and operating a home business. The rezoning of the property from C2 to R6 would correct code violations currently on hold pending the outcome of this rezoning. Prior to the originally scheduled public hearing, the applicant decided to sell the property as C2 zoning and locate her business, her residence and business elsewhere. A request was made to staff to withdraw the case rather than be rezoned. Staff informed the applicant that if this case is withdrawn, the applicant will be in violation of city code by residing at a property zone C2, which does not allow for residential uses. Also, any fence on the property would need to follow the commercial fencing standards by requiring a permit and meeting the UDO section 14400-02 for commercial fences and locations. With this in mind, the applicant requested that the case be continued while the property was listed for sale. As at the January 23rd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission voted to continue the case to the February 27th, 2024 meeting. At that meeting, the case was continued again to March 26, 2024. And the applicant was unable to sell the subject property in that time frame. So the case was heard by the Planning Commission at the March 26, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. At this meeting, the applicant requested that the case be continued to allow for the sale of the property with its commercial zoning. The Planning Commission agreed to continue the case to the second meeting in June, more specifically the June 25th meeting. That's this meeting. The applicant agreed to move forward with the rezoning in the event the property did not sell by that time. The applicant has been unable to sell the property during this period. The case is now back before the Planning Commission. More recently, the property owner has indicated that she does not wish to sell the property and wants to continue to live in the structure and operate her business with the property remaining C2. So that's the supplemental staff report. Hopefully that brings everybody back up to speed with where we are on this case. So back to the presentation. I have pictures. These are the pictures I took in March. That's why it's so gloomy. So here's the property looking dead on east across Noland. So this is looking at the property facing south across Fair Street. So this is looking like kind of from the property looking north across Fair Street. As I mentioned, it's across the street from the McDonald's. This is on Noland Road facing south. You can see the property is that kind of raised area adjacent to the sidewalk, but this shows Noland Road looking south. This is kind of from the same location, turned around, looking Noland Road facing north. This is across the street facing west, looking across Noland Road. And then here's another look at the property, kind of diagonally. You can see both Fair and Noland in this picture. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning. If the rezoning does, if approved, the change of use permit will be required as from the applicant to change the use from office or business to residential.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of staff before we bring the applicant forward? Okay, will the applicant please come forward? You've been on quite the adventure. If you'll state your name and your address. And you might have to put the microphone up on that top level. Just like the top shelf, move that microphone up a little bit. Like, set it up top. Perfect. That'll work. Nobody ever said that. And why has nobody ever done that before?
I think it's a different microphone, but
Oh, nice. Well done. Okay.
Carolyn Richardson, address 1301 South Noland Road, Independence, Missouri, 64055.
Thank you. What would you like us to know? Where are you at in this process, in this great adventure?
It has indeed been trying.
Speaking to Mike.
We were in conversations with a potential buyer, but all that went down the hill once the sign went up with regards to rezoning the property. So that is costing me a small fortune based on what it's worth commercial as opposed to what it's worth residential. In my honest opinion, I'm having a hard time understanding this whole process because when I purchased the property, I was told that I can live there and I can run a business out of there. And then 5 years later, here I am being told we have to undo everything that I've worked for. When I met I didn't meet Mr. Garrett. He was putting signs up at my property a couple of weeks ago. And I told him I feel like I've spent these years building the value. I took a distressed property and completely turned it around. And I feel like it's been taken away from me based on all my hard work. So I don't know how to respond to this. I admit that I said if you change it to residential, I won't argue. But at the time when I made that statement, I was unaware that the homeowner's insurance would cost 3 times more than what I'm paying for commercial insurance. So the minimum payment that I can get to just cover a fraction of the shell of the property would be $508 a month. And that will put me in a situation where I will not be able to afford it.
So are you requesting residential or commercial?
Mixed.
Mixed.
We got here because initially I wanted to put a fence around the whole perimeter of the property because of safety reasons. Since our last meeting of me being here, I've had a real estate agent from RE/MAX bang on my door, scream and holler, threaten to kill me, to the point that I had to call the police because I wouldn't let him advertise in front of the house. I've had to file a police report on someone leaving a piece of wood that they've wrapped in duct tape on my front porch that looked like a gun. I've had about 6 bolts taken off of my security windows. This was the whole purpose of the fence. I've explained to Mr. Garrett time and time again, he's listened to my pleas. I choose not to have to buy a gun. Not that I wanted to advertise that and for that to be in public, but I choose not to buy a gun. I have dogs that would do their job, which is why I paid almost $3,000 for a boundary survey that was requested of me in order to put the fence, a custom fence, steel alternating wood along the sides and the front to enclose the whole property. I'm not safe there. I mean, I'm not safe, and I don't know what else to say. I've had a little bit of peace since I've closed out the size of the house from our last meeting. I went ahead and closed that. That was after the RE/MAX realtor banged on my door and threatened to kill me because I took his signs away from the front of the house. So I don't know what else to do. I have no problem changing it to residential as long as I can keep doing the type of business that I do, which is charity work. But by it being charity, I don't bring in enough income to afford a $508 a month insurance that won't even rebuild the property if something were to happen to it. And so far, in the 5 years, it's been about $61,000 worth of rehab. I should be able to protect it, and I should be able to feel safe.
Commissioners, any questions? I think what's hard about this is that it is a commercial district, and yet it's a residential house. So it's a conflict right there. So I think I'm still confused about what you really want, because you obviously can't have both.
I put my heart and soul into it, and I didn't build on this property with the help of the Habitat to leave. I would like to stay, but I would like to be safe. And I know I'm not safe. There's a long list of the events that has happened there. There's accidents constantly. Everybody sits on that hill. It's not safe. And all I've asked for that got me here was to be able to fence the property off so I can be secured and let my dogs loose, because then no one would come into the yard. I don't want to have to shoot someone for a home invasion. It's apparent if you're taking boats off the security bars that's on the property. It's apparent if you're leaving a piece of wood that looks like a gun. At night, I wouldn't know if that's a gun or not, but I'm definitely in harm's way. And I would like to just protect my investment.
Yeah.
I'm okay with changing it to residential. I told you I wouldn't fight you on that. I'll figure out the insurance thing, but at least allow me to protect it.
Yeah, I think that's where it's in conflict with the commercial is the fence. I mean, staff can clarify that for us.
Well, even if you go commercial, you can't put residential, you can't put a fence up on Nolan Road.
Here's what happened.
Now, wait a minute, do you understand that?
I understand you, but
No, wait a minute.
when the fence thing came to,
Right,
the first questions that was asked was, what do I need to move forward? Of course, they needed plans. Of course, they needed surveys. But even with your surveys, you could have stopped me $3,000 ago and said that we can't do this. You led me to believe that if I gave you a survey on the land, I can have the fence. And then suddenly, I'm caught up in, you're in code violation from a property that I was told that I can live in. So this just turned into this big thing.
Stop. You keep going over the same things. We don't need to hear the same thing. My question's going to be who told you can live there if you just bought it as a residential house or a business? What
Mr.
did you buy?
Stewart, who's retired.
Who?
Mr. Stewart,
But you bought it as a business or bought it as a house?
I bought it as a business.
So a business and independent, you can't live in it, not unless it's a two-story, according to our code. Did you know that at the time that you bought it?
Mr. Stewart
Wait.
would have known it.
Don't blame anything on Mr. Stewart.
Okay.
Mr. Stewart has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
It's up to you to look into this before you go buy something. I mean, we can't hold your hand through all the process. But the problem is, what I see is that, okay, you made a mistake. So now you made a mistake. That's what you're just going to have to live up with it. So the thing is, do you want residential or do you want commercial? That's the only thing we're asking for you.
May I respond to some of the things you just said?
I guess, yeah.
I did do my due diligence. I did go to the city hall, the City of Independence. I did have multiple conversations before purchasing the property. And if you have a person in authority that tells me that, yes, you can stay there, yes, you can run a business out of there, I don't know what more was I supposed to do.
That's true. If that happened, that is.
So I'm not
that-
going to
that-
accept that I made a mistake. I came to, not you guys.
Yeah, you came to planning commission.
But I went to where I thought I was supposed to go, and I'm not arguing that. I'm not fighting any of that. I
Okay.
just want the opportunity to protect my investment, and it's not safe.
Okay, so the fence is not going to be any more fencing put up that you already have at this time, correct?
I'm sorry, what,
Do you plan on putting any more fencing up at this time than what you have up already?
I would like to, that was what got me here.
But even if it's a residential, you can't put any more fence. I think our code says you can't go past the front line of the house with the fence.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
actually, I've been out and looked at the property, and that fence that she's talking about that faces Nolan Road is set back. It is not at the front of the house.
Right.
But
It's
she
more
wants to
towards
add,
the back of the house.
She's
she wants to
requesting
add
go
more.
front.
Yeah, but not toward Nolan Road, right?
I was told that I can go all the way up to the first corner of the property. Am I correct,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
So if it remains commercial, it can't extend past the building line. If it were to be rezoned for residential, the 6-foot portion couldn't go past the building line, but you could have a 3-foot fence in the front yard area, so the Noland Road area. So you could have a smaller fence on the Noland Road side if it were rezoned residential.
So the clarification is
Can I show
commercial
you
can
this?
only be,
It's what his boss drew to tell me where I can put the fence.
yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, he was probably mistaken. And this is where it is confusing, like we talk about, because it looks like a house, really cool house, but it's in commercial. So it's a very awkward thing.
Situation.
Yeah. So for clarification, the privacy fence, 6-foot fence, can only go where it is right now.
If it was rezoned
if it's
commercial
commercial.
or residential, the fence right now is in compliance.
Okay, but it's not in compliance for commercial.
It's almost in compliance. There's that little portion that sticks out on Fair is not in compliance, but that wouldn't be an issue if it were residential.
Okay, and Fair is the road in between McDonald's and
Yes.
her house.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I ask a clarification question of Mr. Garrett?
Yep.
You said 3-foot high fence, 3-foot high open fence, 3-foot high privacy fence, metal fence, wooden fence, vinyl fence? What kind of fence?
So 3 feet is the maximum, but Brian, do you want to take that?
Yeah, it has to be 50% see-through,
Open
so it
fence.
cannot be opaque.
And
Like
why
a
3
picket.
Why 3 foot?
It's a residential.
That's the residential height.
Doesn't
allowance.
make any difference. I don't, I don't care if it's a castle. I mean, why is 3 foot the height?
That's
Why not 4 foot?
that's sort of the standard that,
It's a standard
That-
that was adopted by the city.
yeah, that's been around for quite a while and is used by neighboring communities as well.
Okay. Is the applicant open to an open fence? Does it have to be a privacy fence?
It was an open fence. It's a steel panel alternating with wood panel.
Yeah, but
So
across
it's
the
open.
front.
But
I mean, across the front, though.
but still could only be 3 feet tall.
And that's what I am asking. Is the applicant okay with an open fence, 3 foot tall, across the front?
Yes.
So can we, if she's up for that, and why can't we just do that? Can I make a motion to,
Wait,
No,
not
not yet.
Not yet.
or do you want to ask everybody again?
I gotta ask everybody
Well,
first.
do what you got to do.
Okay,
Can I clarify one more thing?
yes.
Yes,
Mr. Garrett, and I was at your office and Mr. Fitch drew this right there with us, he actually said that I got it backwards. He actually said that the 6-foot fence can come up and close off right where the front of the first corner of the house is, which will allow me to bring it up further and close off the front porch.
Well, so regarding that, I just have to look at the specifics of the code again.
Okay.
But I believe that the way it's written is that it can't extend past the building line. So I'll have to look at the specifics about what exactly where that can go. But if a residential, the front area could have the 3-foot fence. I did just want to remind that, this is about the rezoning, not necessarily the fence. The fence is kind of secondary to, depending on what the rezoning is, what kind of fence can be allowed. But this is just simply about the rezoning ultimately.
Yeah, but it's also to make everybody comfortable with that reason.
Right.
Because it is a corner.
I understand. But the
it's a
fence is
Major
what got us here.
thoroughfare corner.
Fantastic corner.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, any more questions? You can do what you want to do. We're good, thank you.
No, wait a minute, you gotta wait for her to close the,
Wait.
we're gonna close both before
All
she.
right, any more questions of staff? I'm going to close the public hearing. Now, we can talk, or you
You're
can-
done. You can
Okay.
have a seat, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve, because it's going to be rezoned residential, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Garrett?
Yes, that's correct. R6, single-family residential.
Thank you, sir.
I would second that.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
No.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes. Thank you. Case number 24-100-05, rezoning of 1301 South Millen Road has been approved. Thank you.
Okay, I think you're all stop.
Good day, Madam Chair.
Good day, madam.
I request a moment for the Mayor Rory Rowland, to introduce someone.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Madam Chair, thank you for that opportunity. I'm Roy Roll, Mayor of Independence. We also have with us Barbara Potts, former Mayor of Independence. She did a great job as mayor, and we came tonight thinking that this would be Chairman McLean's last meeting. It won't be, as I informed you right before the meeting, but we certainly, Mr. Preston, being on the commission before, is one of your big fans, as you know.
He's one of mine. I'm,
And so he wanted to bring the mayor to recognize you, and I certainly wanted to be here to recognize you for all the work you've done. We will have a formal presentation, so please forgive us for jumping forward on this, but I certainly wanted to introduce the mayor and take this moment to thank you for all your service, but we will in fact say thank you again, and I think it's okay for as much work as you've done to thank you several times, so we will certainly do that. So,
thank you. Can I go give Barbara a hug?
and thank you for the indulgence. Okay, good. And thank you all for the indulgence, and please forgive me for interrupting the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to business. Two of my favorite people. Okay.
Well, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag. Okay, next case is continued case 24-200-04, special use permit for 801 West 23rd Street. Staff, will you give us a report, please?
Yeah, this is case 24-200-04 for the Unity Center of Independence, a group home. Applicant is Sherry Tarp, and again, this action is a special use permit.
You can go ahead and sit down. They have to give their report first.
So here's the zoning map. So this is a church structure facility here on 23rd Street. And the comprehensive plan, which envisions this area largely residential, either residential neighborhoods or to the west and north, residential urban neighborhood. So this is the floor plan for the upstairs wing, which is the one going back along the side street, behind the parking lot there along the side street. And this would be that second floor. And it shows this dormitory style situation. And then this is the main level up front. That has dining hall and a kitchen and some counseling offices, as well as a clinic. This is the notification area of the properties around the church facility. Within 185 feet that would have got the notification letters. Okay. This is a request by Sherry Tarp to acquire a special use permit to operate a group home for traditional housing at 801 West 23rd Street South. The proposal, Unity Center of Independence will provide temporary housing and life skill programs for women who suffer from homelessness or who have escaped harmful situations like substance abuse, physical abuse, and other life issues. They intend to, quote, rebuild shattered lives via a program of action based on spiritual principles. The program is meant to equip and empower women who have experienced life struggles to make effectual change in their lives, families, and communities. The 30 to 90-day program will focus on spiritual growth, mentoring, work ethic, and life skills, i.e. things like household responsibilities, balancing a checkbook, cleaning your credit, writing a resume, and physical well-being. Physical characteristics of the property. The use will occupy the northern section of the building, and the second floor will have 4 rooms that will sleep 5 to 6 people. The living area will contain these rooms plus counselor, mentor rooms, 4 bathrooms, 4 showers, and a prayer room. The main floor will be dominated by a kitchen, a dining room, and a health clinic. The facility will house 20 to 30 women, 5 per room. There will be 24/7 on-site security. Southeast of the building lies the large parking lot. Currently, licensed doctors and nurses operate a monthly mobile clinic at this location. Characteristics of the area. The property is primarily surrounded by commercial uses, a trade school, an elementary school, churches, and single-family homes. Consistency with the Independence for All strategic plan. The proposed use is consistent with the Independence for All strategic plan. One of the planning objectives is to, quote, stabilize and revitalize neighborhoods. This long-standing religious facility should assist in that objective. Comprehensive Plan Guiding Land Use Principles. The comprehensive plan envisions the future land use of this property and surrounding area to be residential neighborhood use. The religious facility use and associated transitional housing help support this land use. Historic and archaeological sites. There are no apparent historic or archaeological issues with this property. And all utilities are present on site and are operational. And as far as CIP investments, currently there are no CIP investments along this section of West 23rd Street South. So, review criteria. So, the one up on the screen is missing the first one, so I will be reading that off here and then to go into the others. Compatibility of the proposed use with the character of the neighborhood. This portion of 23rd Street South corridor is lined with mostly commercial, institutional, and religious uses. 2, the extent to which the proposed use is compatible with the adjacent zoning uses. The proposed use will not be in the middle of a residential area. It should have minimal impact on the vicinity. 3, the impact of the proposed use on public facilities. All public facilities are in place here, and this proposed use will not be a significant consumer of water, sanitary sewer, and electrical services. 4, suitability of the property for permitted uses to which it has been restricted under the applicable zoning district regulations. This special use permit will allow an additional land use not already permitted by right in the C2 General Commercial District. Number 5, the extent which the proposed use may injure or be detrimentally affect the use and enjoyment of the property in the area based upon the site's zoning and long use as a religious facility. It is not expected to affect any of these issues. Number 6, the extent to which the proposed use will create extensive stormwater runoff, air pollution, noise pollution, and other environmental harm. As this is a developed site, there will not be any change in stormwater drainage. This use will not create any extensive noise, air, or environmental pollution. Number 7, the extent to which there is a need for the use in the community. This applicant's narrative describes the need there is for this use. And number 8, the ability of the applicant to satisfy any requirements applicable to the site-specific use imposed pursuant to this article. If approved with a special use permit, the application appears to satisfy the requirements of Section 14-404 of the UDO. Number 9, the extent to which public facilities and services are available and adequate to meet the demand for facilities and services generated by the proposed use. This is a long existing religious facility. All public facilities in place and operational. Number 10, conformance of the proposed use to the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans and policies. The city's updated comprehensive plan envisions residential neighborhood uses for this site. Number 11, the extent to which the use will impact sustainability or revitalization of a given area. This special use permit will bring a needed use to an underutilized structure. So we'll go through the pictures real quickly. This is looking south from the sidewalk there on 23rd Street, directly up to the building. And then this is looking eastward up 23rd Street toward Noland. And then, of course, the sign. And then this is from the side street looking west toward the property. And this is that parking lot that's at the southeast corner of the property. This is the property to the east there on 23rd Street. And this is looking back toward 23rd Street and the commercial businesses that lie across 23rd Street to the north. And this is looking northwest. Recommendation. Staff recommends approval of this special use permit with the following conditions. The number of occupants of the group living facility should not exceed the number of occupants permitted for the subject building by the building code or fire code as applicable and HUD standards or HUD standards. Number two, the traditional housing program shall not provide housing or accompanying supportive services for program participants for more than 24 months. Number three, provide standard handicap and van accessible handicap parking spaces. Include signage and striping per code. Stripe 28 parking spaces per code as well. Number four, the applicant will obtain and maintain all applicable city and state licenses and comply with health requirements. Okay. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Okay. Have you been sworn in? No. Okay, if you'll stand up, I will swear you in so you can actually talk. If you'll raise your right hand, do you promise to tell the truth before this commission? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Well, since you're up there, would you like to tell us anything that you would like us to know about this project?
Name and address.
Name and address. State your name and address, please.
Oh, my name is Billy Tharp, and I am the pastor of God's Love Ministries, and we have 803 West 23rd Street South. I believe it's two addresses, and 811 West 23rd Street South. We've been there about 7 years now, and we work in partnership with some other ministries that are in our community. What we initially had done in the past was travel around to underfunded, troubled areas, impoverished areas with inflatables and carnival games and different groups of people, and we would put up a 1 to 3 day event and just love on the community, try to bring change, connect other resources from the community. And then we worked with another ministry called Team Jesus. And so they would go into the homeless communities and make impact there and bring resources, but not just resources, but really work at building relationships and causing transition in their lives. So we moved into this facility and we were worshiping there. That's our church for a while. And during the process, because of our relationship with the city, we saw the need, the people wandering the streets, the homeless, the theft, the drugs, all those things that are going on in the community. I've lived in the city my whole life. I've been a part of the other side of the fence. And so what we're wanting to do is show people a better way of living, find the needs that they have, because some of them are just simple. Get an ID, connect them to their resources for disability or Social Security or different things like that, and get them into a living quarters of their own. We have been building a network of ministries, organizations, and all kinds of relationships that would give us the ability to offer many things to meet those needs. We have been there for, like I said, 7 years. So while we've been there, we've made relationships with like the Community Service League, other churches around the area. Some people don't want anything to do with the people we work with, but they want to be a part of giving the resources or come in and do volunteer work. So we provide that platform for that. We called it the Unity Center because it is a common ground platform where there's no agendas. Nobody's trying to win anybody to a certain way of believing things. We just want to love on people, love on the community, and do it together. And so we're finding strength in building these networks of ministries and organizations. So if we can't do something, we know somebody that does. Or like the Community Service League, that's one of our go-tos when people come because they have been doing it so well for so long. But what we also have found that some people go through that process and they no longer fit the criteria to receive anything. So we've been kind of picking up the pieces, if you will, in addition to some of these other organizations and trying to do something more. So our hope there, one thing that we see is with the displaced people, the homeless that are wandering around our neighborhoods at 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would much rather know where they're at. I would much rather have an opportunity to work with them and see where they're at. And let me just be transparent and clear. We can't fix everything and we can't fix everyone, and some people have to go. But we want to take the ones that have gone through the process and give it one more shot. And we've been doing that there as it started because of the relationships of going into the community in our trailers and doing what we were doing. We started to build a relationship. People started to come, like you heard on his display there, that we have a medical clinic that operates by appointment and once a month, and it's called On the Boulevard. So they travel around in different places and offer free medical clinic, free pharmaceuticals. There's doctors and nurse practitioners. It's all legit. They have all their licensing. So we had asked them to come in once a month. So we built 2 clinics in the facility at their request, the way they wanted them, so they could come in and meet people there. And so women, we were finding out, were the ones who really had no place to go. So you've got Hope House, you've got Sheffield House, and there are places for women, but they're usually full. And there's a waiting list. And so we just have 50,000 square feet of property there and one wing that we don't use at all. So we just had the heart to maybe open that up. And so when the city offered the special use permit, we wanted to apply for that, and that's where we're trying to get to. And we've been doing this, my wife and I, Sherry, over there, we've been working with people with life issues pretty much for about 20 years now, because I used to be one. So I know how to change. I know how to transform. I know how to go from one place to the other and make it and be successful. Like he said, we're a spiritual-based organization, so that worked for me. But we also don't limit ourselves to that, which is what you'll find. Some people are either health and clinical or spiritual. Well, we have relationships with both, like Heartland Healthcare. Barbie Daniels is here tonight. And she has been in the industry, in the field for how long? 12 years. She's amazing. She has a lot of resources, connections, and she just has a heart for being there for people and seeing lives transformed. So our hope is that we could have a twofold here. We can provide a transitional living facility where we have that short-term ability to find people, see where they're really at, see if they really want the help, and if they do, work at building greater resources and greater relationships to where we could plug them in and maybe transform these lives, put them back into community, get their kids back, get their court dates taken care of. We have some lawyers that want to be a part of helping us with that too, pro bono. We just see needs, and we are working at trying to meet them. Barbie, did you want to say anything about? Yeah. Because I think it's important, because I went through some mental health things in my life, and I went down that arena, and there was some help there. And so I don't ever forget that. AA, Celebrate Recovery, different things like that. But I think the partnership that we have in working with people from the mental health and the clinical perspective and the spiritual side gives us the ability to cover all bases and be a greater impact. Barbie?
Thank you.
Have you raised your right hand? You swear to tell the whole truth before this commission, so say I do.
I do.
Thank you. And state your name and your address, please.
Yes. Well, it's actually Barbie Miller now. He knows that, but I've been Barbie Daniels for so long that, yeah, that's okay.
I've known her for like that for 20-some years.
Yeah. I've only been married for 2, so no one ever calls me Barbie Miller still, but that's okay. So I do intensive street outreach here in the community, and I've been in the field for 12 years. I started with our Jackson County Drug Court here in Independence when I started working, and then now with the intensive street outreach, I did do, within the last 4 years, I did do a year of intensive street medicine outreach with Care Beyond the Boulevard. And we did a lot of it here in Independence, especially during the cold weather times and when it's hot out, because we treated a lot of frostbite in the camps and in different places. But one of the biggest issues while doing intensive street outreach is when I come across a mom and her kids, and we're desperately trying to call places for them to have shelter that night, and they're full. And one of the hardest things for me to do is go home and leave them there on the curb or in the car where they're at. And a lot of times, we run into these situations where sometimes it's not, I mean, addiction runs rampant through our community. There's a lot of struggles with that. I work at Heartland as a substance use disorder treatment facility. But it's not necessarily that all the time. There are situations where people run into hard times. There's situations where they're fleeing domestic violence. There's situations where the mom lost a partner or lost a job, and I think sometimes we're all a paycheck away from, bad situations. And so I've known the THARPs, like Billy said, for over 20 years, and I think that this amazing program would be a holistic approach covering every need that could be met in the community. It would offer case management, which is something that is not accessible here in Independence. Some of the organizations, they do have case managers. The VA, you have to be a veteran. Hope House, you have to be in domestic violence. Community services leagues, they do offer case management, and they're a great program, but they offer it 1 day a week to 6 individuals that week. And so case management is a huge need, and this facility would provide that for these women and their children and families trying to get back on track. And coming together, utilizing all of those community partners would be amazing because there is a lack of resources sometimes. Even when you call for places, you're calling places just to find anywhere. If you're not in the state of Kansas, you can't use a Kansas shelter bed. Sometimes if you're not in Kansas City now, you can't use a Kansas City bed. So, finding spots for them to go where they're going to be safe and the kids are going to be safe is crucial in this field. And I think absolutely this organization would be a tremendous opportunity for the families that would get to go there. Not only would it change what their life will look like, but it'll change what our community looks like as we serve others. Thank you.
Can you provide your address, please?
Yes. 39, my work or home?
Home address.
By 3910 South Chrysler Avenue, Independence, Missouri.
Thank you. Is there a way to adjust that mic so it's not feeding?
Do you bend it down or something?
It's not broken in yet.
I guess not.
So, also, my wife and I have done things in our life to try to make sure that we have a better resource or better training to be able to meet the needs or to deal with these circumstances. So both her and I have Christian crisis counseling degrees from Faith Bible College in Independence Square. She actually has a associate, or you have a master's, and I have a bachelor's. She did that on purpose. That's the only reason she did it, because I had my bachelor's first, and she went from associates to master's, just so she could have one of them. But she also holds a credentialing with the state of Missouri called a Missouri Recovery Support Peer Specialist. So, and then I was talking to Barbie as well, and she's trying to give us some plug-ins to some other things that we could get. We also have a lady that's in our ministry that works for Healing House, for Bobby Joe Reed down in Kansas City, and she has a lot of credentialing from the state. So she actually runs the intake counselor for the people that first come to the program there. So she will be working with us here. And then if you notice that he said on there about the 24-hour security, we have Bruce Luderman. I don't know if you know him, but he does Mariel Luderman and Bruce Luderman. He does the concealed carry in Independence here. He has been working with us. He has offered security and also the ability to be able to train some of the other people. Dr. Dee is here tonight, and she is a longtime relationship with many years of helping ministry and people that struggle. And she was going to live in a home there as a house mom to start with, so there would be someone that could be an on-property minister and mentor. And then we would have someone that would be on property for 24-hour security. And that would be different people at different times. We've got a list of people we've been building for 7 years now to be able to meet all these needs. And granted, we're going to learn as we go, but I've seen a lot of these facilities, and honestly, it's faith-based for us. I've seen a lot of tools. I've gotten a lot of tools from a clinical perspective, from a mental health perspective. But truthfully, that didn't work for me completely. It wasn't until somebody told me about Jesus and walked with me, told me about the Bible, and taught me some things, and gave me some foundations from the Bible that I applied to my life, that give me the ability to be standing in front of you 35 years later when I used to be on the streets of Washington. So, any questions from you?
Commissioners?
I do have one question. I hope it's true, but with 5 people in a room, that does not include the ability to have children, correct?
So our plan going in, like I said, we're going to learn as we go. This is a 50,000 square foot building, it's the old Alton School. So we are going to be flexible. We're going to set up the rooms as they go. We're not going to try to take in 30 people all at once. We have a plan to go slow, purposely, because if we open the doors and say, hey, anybody that wants to come in, come in. But we're going to put them through intake and orientation, and we're purposely not going to take people quickly, because we want to learn, we want to do it well. And so to answer your question, we could dedicate a room to having that ability to have a mom with kids, and then we would also have to bring in different people to meet the needs of that kind of counseling and that kind of situation. So we have thought about all these things. We just have been working towards just getting the special use permit for almost, it's been 4 years we've been talking about it, and we've been really working at it for the last 2. And then the codes and the planning had to change, and the ability for us to be able to get this. I think we would be the first one to get this permit for special use since the change of the codes, if I'm correct. So we've been pushing down this road for a long time. But we want to do that, because we want to put the women into a restorative place in their life and connect them back to their kids, and then teach them how to be mothers again, teach them how to deal with their issues, teach the kids how to deal with the mother's issues. I mean, it's just a whole package. We will dedicate one room to start with for that. So that's the plan.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, layout of the building. You got the front building, which I see 23rd Street, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, is that upstairs where the people are going to be, or is that building going north and south?
So it would be, let me see, west to east would be the front of the building.
Right,
North to south would be the wing, the L.
okay,
So that is where the top floor, that's where they would be.
okay. What's on the bottom? Yeah, that's, okay. What's on the bottom floor?
So that would be where the kitchen and the
Okay,
the kitchen and dining hall, and then also there is one whole wing that we're using for storage, because we have a closed closet.
Okay.
Stuff that we give for people, so there's a whole room that we did for that. Then there are 2 rooms down there that we haven't used, and then one of our hopes and visions for the future is so we built 2 clinics, like I said, one for males and one for females, so people can come in. We've been meeting those needs for probably about 4 years now.
okay. I want to stop you right there. This is proposed for women only.
Right.
Now you're wanting to bring men in. No, wait, let me finish my question here. I mean, I don't mind that aspect, but this was proposed for women only, and that's why I was trying to figure out, not even proposed for kids, it's just women only is what my statement is. Is that correct, staff?
That was our understanding.
Okay, so that's why we're saying it's for women only. That's why, when you're starting to throw kids and now you're throwing males in there, that's making me question, because you don't know what they're like. You don't know when they're going to go off. I know you're going to have security, but I have to look out for the residents around there, and it's residential right next door to it, and that's why I'm sitting there, I'm questioning things like that. I know you'll have security, but we got to question those things for the people that live around it. How safe are you going to keep the area around it? That's the one.
So let me tell you a couple of things that have happened since we've been there. So first of all, we've been there for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
During the process of that first 7 years, we've had a plan for the Ruth House for women. When you have women, there's children. So we have been ministering and meeting the needs of women, men, and children while we've been there. But once this permit comes into effect, we change the outcome of the facility. So the bottom level, we would still meet the needs of someone who came to the door, but the upper wing would be blocked off. There would be nobody that could go up there other than women. We would change what we have been doing over the last 7 years, and we would no longer take on men coming in the facility. We would meet the needs in the parking lot. So they come in on Saturday, we do a feeding on Saturday in the parking lot, sandwiches and chips. And then there was a mobile shower that we had that Team Jesus would meet because the homeless wouldn't have a shower. So those things may still go on if they could, but we would stop doing what we've done up until this point because we would be finally engaged in doing what we really want to do, and that's take in the women in this facility. But that being said, our hope is that with this starting and with the success of this, and we get down the road, that we can open another home for men. So my vision, my goal, my thought, I'm already thinking down the road, but we have to get past this first. So to answer your question, we would no longer be doing it like that, but I'm talking of what we've done in the past. Now, the neighborhood and what we've done with that, let me just give you a story.
So,
Wait.
if you can, what I really want to do is kind of streamline this a little bit. We need to stay focused on the special use permit.
Right.
So let's just stick with the here and now and what the actual request is for a minute. Yes, if you, I need to swear you in. So, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, say I do. I do. Perfect. Will you state your name and your address, please?
Sherry Clark, 12403 East Park Street, Sugar Creek, Missouri, 64052.
Thank you.
So to clarify the children, so the children would not be staying there. Some of these ladies, when they come in, Barbie didn't know that, so that's okay.
Okay.
But when I'm willing to do it.
Okay. This is,
Some of these ladies, when they come in, though, they may have children that have been estranged. So part of us being there would be in the hopes if they needed to have a supervised visit or something with one of their children, with a social worker there, that we would have a room set up for that if they needed that. They would not be staying there at this time.
Okay.
It
Perfect.
would just be for women.
okay. Thank you for that
That
clarification.
cleared that up. Thank you.
Perfect. You know, smart men always let their women talk first. Okay, so do we have enough information for right now?
Yeah, question?
Yes.
I think we're
Any
good.
questions quickly?
Just one more question.
Go ahead.
Do you have prepared for a language access for that area has high demographics with underserved populations like Latinos and other populations? Do you have a plan for that?
Yes, sir. So we actually, one of our partner ministries that is working with us at the facility, they're our Latino, and so we have that ability to cross the language barrier to meet both needs. Yeah, so we already, they've been there for probably, they've been in our ministry group for about a year, but they actually moved the individual. The
That's what I got. I'm gonna question him there.
They stream into the church. They meet there every Sunday to do church at 2 o'clock, I believe. So yes, we do have it.
Perfect. Okay.
Madam Chair, one more question for him.
Yep.
So have you already started on building things in there or remodeling things with permits or anything?
So we have not.
Okay.
What we have not done, or we've cleaned out everything as far as, it's an empty shell basically upstairs.
Okay, my next question is gonna be here real quick, because I was wondering about, do you know how much this is gonna cost you on the inside to remodel?
We kind of have an idea for the upper wing.
Because I know if you go over a certain amount of money per the city, you'll have to do different types of changes to meet UDO codes.
Yeah, so we kind of been through some of that, and I have a business license. We actually own a construction company.
Okay,
So, we're licensed with the City of Independence, Class A license we have, so, I'm familiar with that. We're gonna do everything volunteer.
okay, that brings costs down. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure, because I know that's one of the questions, that if you go so much, then you're gonna have to do UDO amendments, and then you're gonna have to do work on the outside and change all that stuff up.
And we put new windows in.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. You don't have to explain all what you did. I'm just wanting to make sure.
We're doing it in-house.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have one more question. Just a clarification on the recommendations by the city. Are you comfortable with all of those recommendations, based as stated? Okay,
Perfect. Yeah,
correct.
okay, thank you. So,
I have a question. That's a very, very old building, and I can remember when the facade on the front and the two sides got put on was when a president was going to come here to visit. We got curbs and we got that stuccoed. Are there any plans to do the back part of that?
So our plans were to repair the stucco, because it needs some work in the front, to paint and to treat and paint the brick the same color. So we would not put stucco on the brick that's back there, but we would paint all of it the same color.
The brick is in good shape?
It needs a little bit of work, but it's not
Tuck
anything
point?
that we can't fix.
Tuck point.
And yes, you are right, it's an old building, and I've learned a
Yes,
lot.
it's a very
over
old
the last
building.
7 years.
Thank you.
Virginia, I would like one of your memory chips, please. Jeez.
It's been really cool, because there's been a lot of people come in since we've opened it up, because it was all boarded up. And we put the windows in, and it kind of opened it up, and people came in, and they were like, I used to go to school here, so I've had a lot of conversations with people.
Been there a long time.
Thank you. We're going to have you sit down, and we'll see if there's anyone here who would like to speak for this case. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Before it, come on up.
Wasn't it Clinton's team?
And then I need to swear you in, yep. Do you promise to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, say I do. Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
Last name is Carlin. Address is 10200 in Missouri.
Thank you.
So I'm actually the senior director in Pastor Team Jesus International Ministry, and we're in partnership with the Community Center, been a great partnership and collaboration. So we streamline. The bottom line is, so that you know the history of Independent, we take on the project because Independent is in the top 20 slave traffickers in the United States. Number two, resources for young ladies in domestic violence and prostitution is the lowest in Independent. So the Comside, the city provide resources from. But one thing we had intention when we went there, Pastor, but this is serious, we build a healthy relationship with the community. And I think we've achieved that goal. We've got some great partnership, some great support, and I feel good about that. And long term, we will learn and grow. But being able to add opportunity with resources and things that are needed is a long-term goal. So we happen to be part of the partnership, and we see the benefit, and the city of Independent has benefited from our time there and opportunity to serve, I use the term, below the community. So it's been a good opportunity with Santa Fe Elementary School and the Dyson, a great partnership with us, great support and resources to them. And just our neighbors, it's been a great opportunity. So we happen to be the community.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak for this case? Come on up. Did I swear you in already?
Pardon my slowness.
You're just fine.
Part of who I am after 70 years.
Trust, I know. If you will raise your right hand, do you promise to tell the truth before this commission? If so, say I do.
Yes.
Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
I'm Gigi Yates, and I currently live in the basement of my son's home. specifically in my life, which is part of the reason that I have been involved in this ministry from every aspect, especially since becoming a pastor. Because before that, I was just the lady in the street sleeping in her truck and trying to figure out whether or not I should go someplace and try to regroup my half-grown children. Or what exactly was the plan? I have applauded for years the efforts that these people have made to complete the picture. Yeah, we've fed them, we've given them clothes. Everybody here knows that only fixes a part of the problem of putting families back together and putting them in a community to be a whole unit again. Please God, what we've been lacking is a whole unit. And we do have programs for men, we do, and they've been pretty successful. But what was not totally complete was what happened to the lady. Where was mom? Where was wife? Where was, you're seeing where I'm going with that. So one of the lovely things, having now had this spiritual son, he never was, I didn't birth him, and I have probably 247 spiritual children now. But he said, I need you to just come live with me, Mom, because I don't really feel okay with you being in your truck somewhere. That is a story I'm hearing a lot of. The grown children are saying, I can't, my wife's not okay for mom to live here, my husband's not okay for mom to live here. I need to know what to do with her. It's not that I don't care. So this provides, to my mind and heart, an opportunity to start addressing that aspect of society, if you will. What about the ladies who not necessarily addicted to anything still or something, but just nobody has a place for them? And they don't know what to do with them when they get there, frankly. They're getting older, they have cares to address, we won't even go there. But sometimes just the youthful problem of, my kids hate me, and I can't know where to go, what to do. You gotta start somewhere. Trying to put these community pieces back together. I think, please God, this is a great place to start. And I applaud it, and everything that I have learned in 50 years of doing this in this community, I want to put to work with the sanction here of this lovely team of people listening to us. I would like to be sanctioned to start doing that in a recognized manner that says sanctioned, if you will, sanctioned, not sneaking into a building to stay there or, hiding out in the truck until somebody's going, we're not trying to do any of that. We just would like a sanction to say, can we come in a viable position? Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak for this case? All right, I'll say again, is there anyone here who wants to speak against this case? Hearing none. Commissioners, do you have any more questions of the applicant? Okay, any questions of the staff? All right, I'm closing this portion of the public hearing.
Madam Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
In the case of case number 24-200-04, special use permit at 801 West 23rd Street, I make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Chairman McLean,
Yes.
and Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Case number, lost my place, 24-200-04 has been approved. Thank you, and thank you for walking the talk. Appreciate it. Okay, next case is 24-125-06, rezoning/PUD 1550 South Noland Road.
So
Staff
the-
report.
Yeah, This is case 24-12506 for an automotive repair facility. Applicant Cable Dahmer. Action is to rezone from C2 General Commercial to C2 General Commercial Planned Unit Development. So if you look at the vicinity map, you can see this is near where Gudgel intersects with Nolan Road in a vacant auto parts facility there at that location. So the area around there is zoned C2, general commercial, as you can see. All in all cardinal directions there. And the comprehensive plan also sees this area as being used for community commercial. So real quickly, we'll go through the site plan here. So basically, that T-shaped building that you see there, the front part is the existing structure, and then the proposed addition is what's there on the rear, as well as that new auto parking area for cars awaiting repair there that would be screened there and back. This gives a little bit clearer picture of that same site with the proposed landscaping that would be added to enhance the property and also add to that area around the rear. And then this is just the interior floor plan. So the large space there in the new structure, and then the office areas up front there on the east side of the building closer to Nolan Road. And then indication of the elevations that the applicant submitted. And then this is the notification map for areas within 185 feet of property that is right now multiple lots that needs to be platted together, along with a portion that was actually a vacated street section that's being vacated through the city council at this time. So this is a request by Robert Merritt of Cable Dahmer to rezone property at 1550 South Nolan Road from C2 to C2 PUD, and of course, along with that, approving the preliminary development plan. Background: the intent of this C2 PUD application is to allow for Cable Dahmer to relocate an existing Crash Champions facility. This proposed location on Nolan Road is already zoned C2, which allows for limited light automotive repair. But this operation does general heavy auto repair as well. However, a C3 service commercial zoning would be required for that use. The uses allowed in the C3 district, which includes a number of industrial and wholesaling uses, are not ones that would be compatible with the C2 corridor there along Nolan Road. A PUD would allow the continuation of the existing C2 uses to remain, but could permit a tailored situation that would narrowly add only the general automotive repair elements from the service commercial. The services proposed are currently being performed, like I said, at another location, but that location would shut down, and the operation would relocate to this location where this former auto parts store currently sits. The existing structure, this auto parts store, will be expanded, doubling in size. All of the proposed services will be conducted within the building. The temporary storage of wrecked vehicles awaiting repair will be confined to the rear of the property and screened by the building and the fencing as well, which is required by the city. There are trees, a large pond, and a railroad track behind the property that further provide screening and over 500 feet of distance from other uses in the area. So as far as the consistency with Independence's for All strategic plan, this application furthers the goal of increasing the economic prosperity of the community and providing additional employment opportunities. It will also support the redevelopment of a key corridor in the city. Comprehensive plan guiding land use principles for the current designation. One of the comprehensive plan guiding principles is to provide sufficient opportunities for industrial development sites within the community and promote diversification of the city's commercial base. I think I have a sentence that doesn't belong with this. But this is the commercial area and the kind of commercial uses that are envisioned along the Nolan Road corridor is precisely what it speaks of. Sub-area plans. The property is located within the Nolan Now planned area, which is a sub-plan for the Nolan Road corridor. Access and parking. Nolan Road has six lanes, 2 turn lanes down the middle. The proposed operation is not a high traffic generator, and the street has turn lanes to allow for safe and efficient flow of traffic. The existing accesses can serve the proposed use. Few changes are needed for the front or south parking lots. Of course, 2 handicap spaces, 1 van accessible, properly marked and signed, must be created near the southeast corner of the existing structure. The proposed automotive storage area for vehicles awaiting repair will be constructed again, like I said, west of the building expansion. Sidewalks, the applicant will need to complete the property's sidewalks. There's 2 little gaps on each end of the property right now. Public utilities, all the utilities that are needed for this development are in place and can serve the operation, or at least are in the vicinity around the property line. Storm sewers. The drawing indicates storm sewers along the north and south sides of the property, and the property sides leading west to the rear of the property, where the proposed underground detention basin will be created beneath that opaque screened auto storage area. Landscaping. Most of the new landscaping on the north, east, and west sides to be added to meet the UDO will be in green spaces created by the existing islands. Further additional plantings will abut the screen on the north, west, and south sides. A masonry trash enclosure will be constructed at the eastern edge of the south parking aisle. As far as historic or archaeological sites, there are no apparent with the issues of such with this property. And again, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, replatting the site of the existing structure and proposed expansion will sit on what is actually now 6 platted lots and a vacated alley and soon half of a vacated street segment on the west that's being vacated right now. Therefore, the property must be replatted into a single lot subdivision. This minor subdivision needs to be completed before certificate of occupancy. So real quickly, I'll go through some of the pictures. So this is standing in Nolan Road facing west. This is the commercial structure that lies directly to the east across Nolan Road. This is facing southeast, looking down Nolan Road toward the budget there, rental car. And then northeast up Nolan Road toward Captain D's. And then northwest, the properties there along Nolan. And this is assortment of auto-related uses that lie to the south there. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of this rezoning and the preliminary development plan. And this is the wrong one. It didn't get transferred, so I will just read the correct recommendations here. Staff recommends approval of the zoning request and the preliminary development plan. Number one, the general automotive repair use shall be allowed in the C2 PUD district. Number two, the vacation of the easement shall be approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And number three, the proposed project and structure to set on what is currently multiple lots and vacated rights of way must be replatted into a single lot subdivision. This minor subdivision must be completed before certificate of occupancy.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, any questions of staff before we bring the applicant forward?
Yes. So there's several lots that haven't been joined yet together, correct?
Yes, very common here in Independence.
Yeah, well.
Welcome to our specialness.
Okay. And the owners of the lots, do you know if they're agreed to doing that, or should we ask the applicant that question?
No, the owner owns all the lots.
The owner owns all the lots.
Yeah, these are his lots. This
he
existing
owns all the lots, so there's
this
not-
existing structure actually is straddling lot lines.
Okay. So, okay, well, I'll just wait for the applicant to come forward then. Thank you.
Okay. Will the applicant come forward and please state your name and your address?
Robert Merritt, 1600 Southeast Alden,
Thank you. Okay, anything you need us to know about this and answer his question?
I don't think there's anything specific. We're in agreement with everything that development is recommending to do there. So part of what they are requiring us to do is replat the whole thing as a single parcel. Right now it's 4 with a vacated easement and another vacated alley that is in there as well. It will be replatted as one throughout this whole process.
And the owner of the lot will still be,
It will become us. We have not purchased it yet, pending development, depending on this outcome. Obviously, if they don't approve the plan for the property, there's no need to purchase it.
sure.
So we do have to sign signatures of the owners in support of what we were doing here. We couldn't sign that without them. So the intent is
Thank you.
I'd just like to know a little bit more about what so this is also to provide a larger space in which to repair cars.
It is collision repair.
Okay. Specifically.
Specifically collision. It is not for like service like engines, brakes, that kind of mechanical stuff. There is kind of some limited mechanical that takes place, but it's only in relationship to vehicles that have been wrecked. Your wheel gets ripped off, you've got to put that back on. But it is specifically a collision center. It's not like a full automotive repair center that you would get mechanical.
Okay. Thank you.
So I had a couple of questions. How many, so the broken cars, the crashed cars are going to be held behind the unit, correct?
Correct.
And then is there a number? Because, yeah, that would be back there, estimated, max?
Don't have it memorized.
Okay.
If you pull up the plan, it's probably striped at 9-foot lot, 9-foot sections.
Okay.
So, yeah, either one of them can work. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Actually, that number in the middle is 42.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 42 behind the building, and then the front shows 29. Primarily, the front would be for customers or employees, that kind of stuff. But pretty much anything that comes in direct should be taken off.
Okay. And then the second question was, what kind of screening, like specifically, are you thinking in the back?
The back. So the back is down 10 foot from the front. So the building is going to be 24 foot tall. So the building itself is going to screen
From Noland?
from the east almost completely. You will not be able to see that far. On the north and the south will be just privacy screening that's compliant. Usually what we'll use is the vinyl inserted chain link fence. So it is somewhat, you can see a little bit of it, but not much. I don't actually know specifically if that is allowed back there.
No, that you can use the chain link with the strips. It would need to be a solid opaque fence.
Whatever
Okay.
it has to be, it will be.
Okay.
I'm sure that would be approved through the building permit portion of it. But on the north and the south sides, there would have to be some screening.
Okay.
We might accomplish some of that with plantings too, hopefully. But there would be screening.
That'd make Eric happy.
Pardon me?
I said that would make Eric happy.
I'm a landscaper, that's what she said.
Any other
Madam Chair.
questions? Yes.
This is for staff. Okay, if we approve this, they go in business, 5 years down the road, they go out of business, can they still put an automotive place in there for working on cars besides a crash place?
Let's see, any,
Because that, we're approving this so that they can put a automotive business there because it's within so many feet. So I'm saying if they go out of business, can somebody go in there and put a different automotive business in there that does
Well,
not work on?
I mean, this isn't a special use. This is a change of the zonings.
We'd have to
So
put
the-
that before you.
Okay.
So one thing to keep in mind, that 750-foot buffer doesn't apply on this section of Noland Road. That was an amendment to the.
Okay.
Right.
That's what I'm-
So that's not the issue. The issue is general automotive versus limited automotive repair.
Right.
So in the future, someone could use this for general automotive repair with the PUD.
Semi-trucks would be obsolete though, right? Big trucks?
Technically, you could do that, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Hearing none. Commissioners, any more questions of applicant or staff before I close the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. I would entertain any more discussion or a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
make a motion that we approve case 24-125-06, rezone.
I would second it.
And there's a second. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes. Case number 24-125-06, rezoning/PUD 1550 South Nolan Road has been approved. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, would you like a break or do you want to keep going? Should we keep going through we'll take a break before the UDO. Okay. Next case is case number 8.
No, you got the one at the bottom.
Oh, wait, 7, you're right. I've got too many scribbles. Okay, case number 24-100-11, rezoning of 19307 East Hokie Road.
Okay.
Staff, will you give us a report, please?
Yes, as you mentioned, this is case 24-111. It's a rezoning. The applicant is Melvin Olson, and the action is to rezone from R1, single-family residential estate, to R6, single-family residential. So just, we don't see R1 very much. That's basically the minimum lot size for R1 is 1 acre. So the idea would be one single-family residence per acre. So it's a very kind of low-density zoning, and this would rezone it to R6, kind of the standard single-family residential. So the applicant has submitted, this is kind of, there's the order of operations here. The applicant is also looking to redraw the property lines to allow for him to build a house on the property. Currently, as the property is a flag lot, it's not something that could be built upon, and so the applicant is looking to build a house here and wants to redraw the property lines and rezone. So they have submitted a minor subdivision that will redraw the property lines, but that is, the approval of that minor subdivision is conditioned on this rezoning being approved. So if you can see the map, this is the existing configuration, and the property, the subject property is right here, is this little portion that sticks out on Holkey Road. This is the area that's going to be rezoned, or is being requested to be rezoned. So that's the current configuration. The green area is the R1 estate zoning, and the yellow is R6. So this is if everything is approved, the minor subdivision and the rezoning, this is what it would look like. So that little portion sticking out on Holkey would be rezoned to R6, and then the rest of the property would be combined into one lot and would remain R1, the estate zoning. So hopefully that's clear. So this is what the comprehensive plan envisions. It envisions this area to be residential neighborhoods. So that is in line with kind of what is being proposed. So the notification map, I did check. So it only needs to be 185 feet away from the area to be rezoned. So given that not the entire property is going to be, is part of the application, only the area to be rezoned is. So that's why it's kind of a smaller area surrounding the property for the notification map. So the background of the property located at 19307 East Holkey Road is currently a 3-acre flag lot zoned R1 single-family residential estate zoning. The property owners, Mel Olson and his wife, are looking to relocate to Independence to be closer to family. Currently, the property is undevelopable as the building permits are not permitted to be issued on flag lots in R1 zones. To address the issue, the applicant has applied for a minor subdivision to subdivide the land in such a way that a home may be built on the property. The minor subdivision grants the flag portion of the existing lot to Mr. Olson's daughter and her husband, who own the adjacent property. This will leave the remainder of the existing lot along Holkey Road, on which the applicant may build a house. However, to create a smaller lot requires the property be rezoned prior to the approval of the minor subdivision. The smaller lot does not meet the minimum requirements for lot size standards for the current R1 single-family residential estate zoning. To meet the standards outlined in the code, the property must be rezoned to R6 single-family residential. The approval of the minor subdivision is conditioned on the approval of rezoning the property to R6. So the property history. The subject property was first platted in 2004 as part of the Valley View Ridge plat. The same year, the property was rezoned to RE residential estate. Prior to this change, in 2004, the property was zoned R1B single-family residential. When the current version of the UDO was adopted in 2009, the designation of RE was updated to R1 single-family residential estate. Despite platting and rezoning the property, the subject property remained undeveloped. The characteristics of the property. The subject property is a vacant lot. The portion of the property that is to be rezoned abuts Holkey Road and sits between two single-family residences. The characteristics of the area. North of the subject property across Holkey lies Beacon Heights Community of Christ Church. The south side of Holkey Road features several single-family homes on larger than average lots. The proposal, the applicant seeks to have the property, or at least that little portion of the property, rezoned to R6 single-family residential so that the property can be used for a new single-family residence. So regarding the consistency with the strategic plan, the rezoning the property is consistent with the strategic plan. One of the objectives of the plan is to improve the visual appearance of the community. Rezoning this property will allow the applicant to build a single-family home, which will be a visual improvement over the existing vacant lot. The comprehensive plan guiding land use principles. So the comprehensive plan envisions the future land use of this property and the surrounding area to be residential neighborhoods. Rezoning the property will allow for the construction of a single-family home, aligns with the vision of the comprehensive plan. Public utilities. All utilities are present in the adjacent rights-of-way. Historic and archaeological sites. There are no apparent historical or archaeological issues with the property. In CIP investments, there are currently no CIP investments in this area. So regarding the pictures, this is looking at the property. This is just that portion that will be rezoned, the portion that abuts Holkey. Obviously, I couldn't get back and look at the remainder of the property. So this is facing southeast, looking at the adjacent property. This is facing east, looking down Holkey Road, and you can see the church on the left side there. This is northeast, looking across Holkey. A better look at the adjacent church. This is facing north across Holkey. That's the parking lot for the church. This is facing northwest, looking across Holkey, more parking lot. This is looking down Holkey, and this is looking at the adjacent lot, another single-family home. And then we're back, 360 back looking at the property. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning application.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions before we bring the applicant forward? Okay, will the applicant come forward, please? State your name and your address. And thank you for being so patient. I know it was a long evening. Not that you had a choice.
I'm Mel Olson, and I live at 1251 Teton Drive, Linden, Utah. And our daughter, as Steve mentioned, lives here in Independence. We want to build there, we want to live next to our daughter. But the existing zoning, when I look at it, is 35-foot setback on each side. And the property is only 78 feet wide, so we have an 8-foot wide house, which is about the size of my wife's closet. So we would like to get permission to make it more like a 45 or 50-foot wide house. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Commissioners, any questions? No questions? Thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Hearing none. Commissioners, any other questions? Public hearing is closed. I would entertain discussion or a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
make a motion to approve case 24-100-11, rezoning 19307 East Holkey Road.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes. Case 24-100-11, rezoning of 193307 East Hokie Road has been approved. Thank you and good luck. And I hope you get a bigger closet. All right, next case is a continued case, number 24-400-09, short-term rental at 22118 North McBride Avenue. Staff, will give a report, please.
Yes, as you mentioned, this is case 24-400-09, a short-term rental at 2118 North McBride Avenue. The applicant is Joyce Stamps with Manifest B&B, and the action is a short-term rental. So here is the floor plan. This is a duplex, by the way. I should have mentioned the other unit is 2120 North McBride. So keep in mind this is one half of a duplex. So here's the floor plan for the upstairs. There's a 2 bedrooms and then bathroom, kitchen, living area. And then here's the downstairs area. So one thing to note, they have indicated in their application that they want to use this area for bedrooms, but have yet to demonstrate that it meets the egress requirements, that there's a safe way to exit the building. So that is reflected in our conditions of approval. So here's the evacuation plan that they've provided. And then this is the evacuation plan for the downstairs area. And then, as I mentioned, this is a duplex. So there's two garages, one per each side. So there's one space in the garage, and then there's basically 2 spaces behind it that could be used for parking. So this is the notification map. That purple line there is actually the city limits. So everything to the north and west of this is actually Sugar Creek. And you can only actually access the property by going through Sugar Creek. But this is in Independence. So a background of the property. In 1965, the land was zoned R1 single-family residential. The residential lot was platted in 1970 as Lot 4 of Silver Lane Lawn Annex, And in 1980, the zoning was updated to R2, two-family residential. And in 2009, with the current version of the UDO, it was updated to R12, two-family residential. The zoning of the property has remained unchanged since this update in 2009. Neither the applicant nor the property owner have applied for a landlord license for the adjacent unit at 2120 North McBride Avenue. The applicant has been informed that their business license cannot be issued for the short-term rental until the property owner obtains a landlord license for the adjacent property. Further, despite being notified to cease operations and remove the online listings, the applicant has continued to operate without a business license. The physical characteristics of the property. The duplex sits on a lot that is just over 1/3 of an acre. Each side of the duplex is 885 square feet. The structure has a brick and white siding, has a 2-car drive that leads to a garage door for each side of the duplex. The main floor has a living room, dining room, kitchen, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. The basement of the property has a large open area that the applicant has listed as a bedroom. As I mentioned, the basement cannot be used as a bedroom because it does not meet the requirements of fire code. At least they haven't demonstrated that. The characteristics of the area. The area of the subject property features other duplexes of similar age, size, and design. To the south of the property lies Mill Creek Park baseball fields. Parking. The driveway is 2 cars wide, but is split between each half of the duplex. The driveway and the garage can easily accommodate 2 or even 3 vehicles. Unruly guests and security. The property owner and responsible agent lives in Tonganoxie, Kansas, roughly a 50-minute drive from the subject property. The property management will be handled by the property owner, while booking will be handled by the applicant, Joy Stamps and Manifest B&B. The applicant indicates that the property and noise monitoring device is in place. The applicant has stated that they use a Simply Safe security system, which has noise monitoring included. The applicant will need to provide evidence that this complies with code. In the event of an emergency and the owner is needed, they have indicated the ability to respond to issues and concerns. Short-term rental requirements, noise monitoring. The applicant already has noise monitoring devices in place. It is a Simply Safe device. The applicant will need to provide evidence that this complies with code or otherwise install an approved noise monitoring device. Trash removal. Trash pickup is scheduled for weekly service on Thursday to be picked up by Waste Management. Property listing. The property will be listed on Airbnb. Business operations and security. The applicant will oversee the site security and general business operations, including screening customers and coordinating bookings. The city's short-term rental checklist. The form was completed by the applicant covering licensing, future inspections, insurance, on-site information posting, and so forth. Fire safety. A fire evacuation plan has been submitted along with floor plans of the house. The fire escape plan must be posted per code requirement. City inspection. The property must be inspected by the fire inspector and pass the initial short-term rental fire and life safety inspection. So that hasn't happened yet, but that is partly due to staffing issues on our part. But there are no other short-term rentals in the area. Therefore, this application follows the density limitations of the city code. So for the pictures, here's the duplex in question. It is the unit that is on the left side. So this is facing south, looking at the ballpark that is adjacent. So this is looking east, just across the cul-de-sac at the adjacent duplex. This is facing northeast, looking at the across the cul-de-sac. This is facing north. This is facing northwest. This is just the adjacent duplex to the north. So the recommendation, staff does not recommend approval of this short-term rental. However, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. Number 1, the short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. Number 2, the business must comply with all safety and other standards established by Section 14424 of the City Code. Number 3, the maximum occupancy of the premises shall be limited to 4 persons total. Number 4, the maximum number of bedrooms shall be 2. Number 5, the noise monitoring system shall be installed and activated. The good neighbor guidelines, evacuation plan, and other notices must be properly posted prior to approval of the business license. The property must be inspected by the fire inspector and pass the initial short-term rental fire and life safety inspection. And then number 6, the property owner must obtain a landlord license for the adjacent unit at 2120 North McBride Avenue. And that completes the presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions of staff before we bring the applicant forward?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could I just verify? So currently, this is owned and rented out and does not follow the rental ready rules or a business license as a landlord?
So as far as I understand, they are currently using it as a short-term rental.
Okay.
They were originally notified through the sort of automated process that they need to get a business license, but they have not ceased operations. And as far as I understand, I believe they're using both sides of the property as short-term rentals,
Okay.
which is not allowed.
And do we have any idea how long this has been used as a short-term rental?
I don't know off the top of my head, no. I'd have to look at that. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. I'm guessing through rental or through revenue is how this was discovered?
So we have the Rentalscape, like this software that we use that just checks, various sites. And so they have a posting on Airbnb, at least, if not others. And it was, and then the software checks with our records for if they have a license. And so the software identified that they didn't have a license. And so then they were automatically sent a notice that they need to comply.
And could you remind us, what is the penalty for not getting the proper license and continuing to do it as a business in our city of Independence?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think we have to.
That's probably my purview.
Well, my question was, if we're going to approve it as or recommend it as a short-term rental and move it forward, and it's not approved, but they continue,
It's not in our purview, though.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's, at that point, it would be a code violation, and the regulated industry staff would follow up with a ticket. I'm not exactly sure the
No, that's
fine
okay. I
amount,
just wanted to know, since are recommending to or not to, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, will the applicant come forward, please? Nope. Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak against it? Is there anyone here who would like to speak for it? I did that in the reverse, I apologize. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion or any discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion we approve case 24-400-09, short-term rental, 2118 North McBride Avenue.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
No.
Commissioner Ferguson.
No.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
No.
Commissioner Wiley.
No.
Commissioner O'Neill.
No.
Commissioner Torres.
No.
And Chairman McLean.
No. Case number 24-400-09, short-term rental at 2118 North McBride Avenue was denied. Thank you. Next case is Case number 24-400-14, short-term rental at 105 North Hawthorne Avenue. Staff, will you give us a report, please?
Okay. Okay. Yes, this is case 24-414, a short-term rental at 105 North Hawthorne Avenue. The applicant is Donald Nelson with Fir Mountain LLC, and the action is a short-term rental. So this is the floor plan. This is also a duplex, by the way. So there are two units side by side. This is the southern unit, and we'll see that in the pictures. But there are 2 bedrooms in the unit, and a kitchen, living room, and then the basement is kind of underneath. So you pull in the driveway and you go around the back to the garage, and then you can enter up the stairs from the garage, or there's of course an entrance in the front. But the unit is 105, so you can see in that second picture the 105 garage would be the garage for this property, or for this unit. So the evacuation plan, they've provided a way out of the property in the case of a fire or some need to evacuate. So this is the parking plan, and we'll see in the pictures too. So the driveway kind of wraps around, so there's room for several cars. There would need to also be room for the other unit in 107, but this does wrap around and provide space for cars to park for the property. So here's the notification map. These were the properties that were notified of this hearing. So quite a few. So the property history. The property was originally platted as Lot 5 of Block 8 of the Mount Washington subdivision. In 1965, the land was zoned R1, single-family residential. The residential lot was platted in 1970 as lot. Oh, that's from the previous one. I apologize. I have that here. Sorry about that. Bear with me. In 1980, the zoning was updated to R2, two-family residential, and in 2009, the current version of the UDO was adopted, and it was zoned to R12, two-family residential, and it's remained R12 since that update. The physical characteristics of the property: the duplex is a brick building with blue doors. The entry for each unit is on the ground floor, with the driveway goes behind the house to 2 garages, one for each unit that are below the units. The unit at 205 has 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. The characteristics of the surrounding area of the subject property is primarily smaller single-family homes of a similar age. This is the only duplex in the immediate area, at least that I saw when I was out there. Parking. The parking serves both sides of the duplex, but appears to be large enough to accommodate up to 3 extra vehicles. The driveway will need to be repaired in accordance with the section 14.424.18 of the city code. Unruly guests and security. The responsible agent is Wesley Rustenhaven, the tenant on the other side of the duplex, I believe. He will be able to respond to unruly guests and security if they arise. The applicant indicates that the property has a minute noise monitoring device in place. In the event of emergency, Mr. Rusthaven has the ability to respond to issues or concerns. So the short-term rental requirements: the applicant has a noise monitoring device in place. It's a minute device that alerts the property of noises exceeding 85 decibels. Trash removal scheduled for weekly service on Tuesday to be picked up by Ted's Trash. The property listing will be listed on Airbnb. The business operations and security. The applicant will oversee site security and general business operations, including screening customers and coordinating bookings. The city's short-term rental checklist. The form is completed by the applicant, covering licensing, future inspections, insurance, on-site information, parking, or information posting, and so forth. Fire safety. A fire evacuation plan has been submitted along with floor plans of the house. The fire escape plan must also be posted per code requirement. City inspection. The property has been inspected by the fire inspector and passed the initial short-term rental fire and life safety inspections. And lastly, there are no other short-term rentals in this area. Therefore, the application follows the density limitations of the city code. Okay, so here is the duplex looking, head-on, facing east. It is the southern unit that's on the right side of the picture. So this is facing southeast, looking at the adjacent property. There's lots of trees and screening, as you can see. This is facing south, looking down Hawthorne towards Kentucky. This is facing southwest, looking across Hawthorne. This is facing sort of northwest-ish, looking across Hawthorne. This is the building that's across the street from the subject property. And then this is facing north, looking up Hawthorne. And then this is facing northeast, looking at the adjacent property. And then here's the driveway that was mentioned. It would need to be repaired before the business license could be issued. So for our recommendation, staff recommends approval of the short-term rental with the following conditions. Number one, the short-term rental obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with the Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. The business must comply with all safety standards established by Section 14.424 of the city code. Number three, the maximum occupancy of the premises shall be limited to 4 persons total. Which I know you guys might look at changing that, but we can get into that. Number 4, the maximum number of bedrooms shall be 2. Number 5, the parking area shall be repaired in accordance with city code. And number 6, the noise monitoring system shall be installed and activated. The good neighbor guidelines, evacuation plan, and other notices must be properly posted prior to approval of the business license. The property must be inspected by the fire inspector. It already has. I meant to include that. So it already has been inspected by the fire inspector and passed the initial short-term rental fire and life safety inspection. So that completes the staff report.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could you clarify the parking situation? Because this is a duplex, there is room, but some's going to be occupied, obviously, by the renter of the other side. So how did we define how many cars and that there's proper room?
So so the number of cars needed the number of parking spaces required for this property, given that there are 2 bedrooms, is 2.
Okay.
So, and the garage counts as 1. So, and then,
plenty.
Yeah, and then if the requirement would be for the other unit as well, via a different portion of code would also be 2. And so, since there are spaces for 3 in the driveway and then 1 in each garage, they have more than enough parking for both units.
Thanks for that clarification.
Thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yeah.
Does the owner of the property reside in the other duplex?
No, the owner of the property is Don Nelson. He resides in Colorado, I believe. But he will be coordinating the bookings. But the the unit in 107 is his tenant and is the responsible agent to respond to any issues that may arise.
Thank you. Will the applicant come forward, please, and state your name and your address?
My name is Don Nelson, and address of the subject property or my address?
Your address.
725 Marquette Avenue, in Wayne, Colorado, 81211.
Thank you. What would you like to tell us about the property?
My partner and I have invested in several properties in the area. We spend a couple months out of the year typically out in Kansas City. And so this is one of those properties. We had rented it prior and decided after the last tenant, we didn't have a great experience to give it a go for short-term rental. We've done that on a couple others further south Kansas City area. So we went in and did a little remodeling, carpet paint, cleaned it up, and got it ready.
Thank you. Do you want to address the parking?
Sure, it's a bit of a, a strange, if I could just kind of motion. So the actual building sits here, the driveway is to the right as the street is out here. The driveway itself, the tenants on the other side have agreed to park on the right side of that. They own 2 vehicles, and that allows the paved portion to go all the way down to the back and over to the 2 garages back here. So the pavement roughly comes out from the garage 15 to 20 feet, and then over to the fence line here and back up to the street. So the tenants typically park in front and don't use their garage, and then that leaves a long path of concrete all the way around back. Really, probably park 6 cars on all that pavement.
Okay. And repairing the pavement, are you good with that?
I think so. I have to look at the code. Honestly, it's the first I've heard.
Yeah.
It's old and somewhat deteriorated. There's no major uneven areas that I'm aware of, but I'll look at it.
Yeah. As it becomes a business, it changes.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So basically, if you look at your picture back here on that, your driveway is going to have to be smooth because it's got to be able to do handicap. I think that's the biggest thing because when you're going, that's why it's got to be smooth. That's why it's got to be paved. So basically, you're going to have to overlay that with asphalt to make it smooth. So, and it'll probably have to go all the way to the back. Is that correct, staff?
We'll have to look at the condition, I suppose, but it'll need to be, the entire driveway will need to meet the requirement. So I don't know the condition further back, but
Okay. We're just seeing the front pictures of it,
Right.
so. I just want to make sure you realize that's got to happen before this passes.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if that decision will be made. I have to talk to my partner. We have to get estimates, et cetera. So we may not proceed with short-term rental if it's exorbitant.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Sir, did you say that you had several short-term rentals here in Independence?
Not an Independence.
No, just, okay.
This is the only one here that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think we're good. Thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Come on up. If you'll state your name and your address, please.
My name is William Dunphy. I live in the townhouse to the north. I've been in this house 31 years. The last few months, there's been people staying in this duplex. The people that reside in the north side of this duplex, his dad is in a hospice bed in the living room. Ambulance comes maybe once a week, once a month, once every couple of months, takes him to the hospital,
Can you provide your name and address?
Oh, I did, didn't I? Thank you. Janet Steele, 111 North Hawthorne Avenue, Independence, Missouri.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. And I didn't have my mic on, so I was not helpful at all. Okay. Commissioners, do you want the applicant to come back up?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes, I would like that.
Will you come back up, please?
Only thing I'd like a little clarification with was the first concern, which was the person in a hospice bed and cars parked in the wrong place, and what you can do about people parking in the right place.
Well, as I said previously, Wesley, the other tenant, and his father have agreed to park right where that car is and not block the paved area. So that's the arrangement that we made. I can't speak to what this gentleman mentioned before. I don't have any knowledge of it. Yeah, so I do understand the concerns, of course, of the neighbors. All I can say is, first of all, I understand the concerns. I've heard these kinds of things before. In general, my experience has been when you have a short-term tenant, they typically do treat it somewhat like a hotel in that they go there to sleep, to do their business, et cetera, and then they leave and it gets professionally cleaned. That in comparison with difficult tenants is a vast improvement in my experience. But of course, we wouldn't want them disturbing the neighbors. And there's only so much control we can have over that. We have installed the noise monitoring device. And of course, you all can always call the police, which nobody wants to do that, but that's the immediate option if there is a disturbance. There's only so much we can control from a management perspective. But yeah, it's short-term rental. That's how they function.
So can you explain how the platforms vet people?
Yes, so Airbnb is the platform that we use, and they actually do the vetting. And they do that with tenants, typically through a review process. And if they're quote-unquote bad tenants, then they get bad reviews. And they're rated on a series, sort of a survey, if you will, of 6 or 7 different categories. I think it's cleanliness, disturbances and things like that are on there, I believe, as well as if they perceive to be constantly using other stays, how long they've been on the platform, how many reviews they have. That's essentially how they're vetted. So they go through a pre-qualification process and an application to get on Airbnb as a tenant, or as a host for that matter. So you all can check my stats also as a host. And each time they go to book a place to stay, the person on the other end, myself in this case, has a chance to review their statistics and approve or disapprove them. Yeah. That's kind of how that works.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so how long has this house been on Airbnb right now?
It's not on Airbnb right now. We put it on Airbnb originally 3 months ago, something like that. And that's when we found out that there was a regulation on it. And I apologize for that. We didn't know that there was. So, yeah, I'd say approximately 3 months ago is when this originally was listed.
My next question, is that not a double wide driveway? That's only a single wide with a single parking spot up top?
I'm sorry, I don't know how you define double wide. It looks like a double wide to me.
It looks like double wide, but that way they're talking is that car can't go any farther back because it's grass. Is that correct, or is that driveway on back?
It's got a single concrete driveway on the north side, and it's gravel
Okay.
to the brush where he's parked at. That's gravel so far going towards the backyard.
Right.
Okay.
So
It's not all gravel, but yeah, it is a single.
So we can only let him talk because he's got the mic. Sorry.
Yeah, so what he said is correct. But for the car to drive all the way back to the backyard, we would have to trim back some of those edges.
Well, it sounds like, and it also sounds like you got a hole back here for the driveway, so you're gonna have to, sound like the whole part's gonna have to,
He's right in that it's offset, but it's not a whole.
okay.
Yeah, I can bring a picture to it.
No, that's fine. I was just wanting to know, because I mean, it sounds like to me the whole driveway's gonna have to be redone, but are you guys, it sounds like to me you're not wanting to do that, so, I mean, would you?
Again, I mean, if it's gonna be a $20,000 cost, then it probably would be a no. I gotta find out.
Do you want to continue the case to check that first before we do our vote?
Well, I had to fly out here to be at this meeting.
That's what I was afraid of, yeah.
So I prefer not to continue it for that reason, unless I could, maybe not be in attendance next time. I don't know what the requirements are.
I don't think you have to be in attendance. I mean, you can relay all your information through staff, but I'm just saying, because if, right now, I'm a no vote, and I'm just gonna tell you truthfully, because it doesn't sound like you wanna fix the driveway, so why should I spend yes? Plus, I have neighbors here that are saying some bad things about this house, so I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying that, so that's why I'm wondering if you wanna continue to try to suit the neighbors and see if you're gonna fix the driveway, or whether you're gonna pull the case.
Well, I don't think the neighbors complain about the driveway.
I know it, I understand.
But that said, I don't have $20,000 to write a check. So I can't agree to fix a driveway if I don't know what it costs.
Right, I understand. That's why I said, do you want to continue the case?
To when.
Well, we
The
can,
other part is we're making payments on this house, obviously.
I understand. That's totally, that's why I was just asking you the question.
Right. When would it be continued to roughly, do you know?
We can continue for 2 weeks.
That'd be okay?
Yeah, we can do that if you'd rather do that.
That'd be great, yeah, like, give me a little time to check with the pricing and stuff out. So, as long as I don't have to fly back there.
No, you can
You can
relay.
assign somebody to come speak on your behalf.
Right. You can tell the staff or whatever to speak on your behalf, whatever.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so is the motion to continue this
Well,
case?
Can I have
Yes.
can I ask
Yeah,
some
yes.
questions
Yeah.
first, please?
Go ahead.
So, how much do you charge per night, or what's the rate structure for this?
Well, the rate structure is actually, I typically use Airbnbs, they have a smart pricing kind of automation that they use. So they compare to other units in the area, depending on peak seasons and things like that, the prices fluctuate. So weekends are higher, weekdays would be lower, but it probably would range anywhere from $80 a night up to $150 a night.
Who's going to monitor the noise
That's all automated. I get a notification via text.
on your text?
When it goes above those decibels, and then also the tenants who are in the property get a text as well.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so let's do this. If you are all more comfortable continuing this case and letting the applicant have a minute to process and get bids, I would entertain a motion on that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I make a motion that we continue case 24-400-14, short-term rental, 105 North Hawthorne Avenue, to our next meeting.
Which is July 9th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, and thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes, case number 24-400-14 has been continued to July 9th meeting. Okay. Let's take a fast 5-minute break before we go to the UDO.
Yes, let's.
And we're taking a break at 9:37, be back in 5 minutes. 8:37, whatever.
Making it later than it is.
Just feels later.
We are on daylight savings time.
It's a good point.
wants to rent? Huh? Who wants to rent? Well, but see, it's cheap. If you got, that's the whole thing. That's what the near people want. That's what the neighbors are, that's right, I don't worry about it. I know it is. Yeah, it is kind of weird. Really.
This is after my bedtime.
The air is blowing right on, like there's a vent right there. I'm so glad I have a sweater.
Yeah, it does. You're right underneath it, aren't you?
Hey Cindy, do you want to tell Pepe what the longest meeting is that we've had here?
Oh my gosh, it was like, I know, we left.
Wasn't
it-
it 10:15, 10:30?
I think it was 11 something.
I think it was 11.
11:15?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So those come around maybe once a year, twice a year, but
Yeah. There's some long ones. I think you have some long ones ahead of you.
Did you remember when Clinton was going to come to town and they redid that street? and
No,
put
I don't remember
curbs?
that.
You do too. You don't.
No, I probably wasn't even paying, I had babies galore. I probably wasn't even paying attention.
Huh.
But that's
Yeah,
cool.
Babies galore, huh?
Yeah.
That
And
was-
they put the facade, front and sides, but the back of that building is really just brick that's,
Yeah,
Was
I've
that
seen
a
it.
junior
real-
high
Huh?
school? What kind of school was it?
it was owned by the RLDS church.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember
Yeah.
what it was.
But it was an outreach situation, I think.
Since its existence,
Huh?
since its beginning, it was an outreach?
No, I think
No.
it was a regular school at one
Okay,
time,
that's
long, before my time even. Even.
I
But
mean,
I remember when they did the facade on
Yeah.
there and made it look
Decent.
acceptable, because it had not looked acceptable. So I
Naturally
wonder
had
what the
fun.
back part looks like.
It's getting a lot of work done.
All right. I'm glad that you can multitask. So what is our responsibility with these videos, just to send these things?
Yeah.
there's nothing in that. Okay,
Yeah, the back restrictions on those ones.
What is the plan?
This is for if people want to come
I want
talk
the
about it.
maybe-
That's the only thing this is.
I want the additional dwelling units available, not without any setbacks.
What is the plan for the police station? I'm thinking to tear it down, and move it over with this building, this, and tear this down
You
too.
didn't open your tree till I was like, she might need something to nibble on.
They might.
go get back in. I got locked out.
Oh, you did? Oh, I did that last night. I didn't realize the door shut or locked.
Well, I could protect us at this point. Oh, now we got the big guns.
Uh-oh. Okay, we are calling this meeting back to order at 8:43, and we are ready with case number 24-17503, UD amendment number 66, and cases, can I combine them? Or no?
Let's just go ahead and do them separate.
Okay.
Okay, so this is case, as you mentioned, 24-175-03, UDO Amendment number 66, police facilities. As many of you are probably aware, the city has tried to find a new place or a new home for our police department. Many of you are probably also aware that the building that's across the street from us is in need of a lot of repair. And for several years, the city has actually, as far back from what I know, pre-COVID, looking for a new justice center for police department and staff. And so what that has done, that we opened up kind of looking at all our codes related to government facilities, government buildings. One of the things that stood out was things like police detention facilities and how that relates to a new police department or a justice center. One of the things that we wanted to do with this code amendment is to basically clarify what is actually a detention facility and what is a prison. The way our code was, or currently is set up, doesn't really distinguish between the two. And so if you look at code section 14204-C, we wanted to basically add some clarification as to what that means. So we did do some research looking at other cities locally, but also outside of the Missouri area as to how they define the difference between like a prison and or a long-term detention facility. And so the changes that we had settled on were these, what you see here, basically clarifying that the detention facilities and correction facilities other, which is actually already in the code, we wanted to make sure we updated that, so we put the word other in there. That it's a confinement of persons charged with a crime or otherwise confined under a court order. Also under that section, which is number K, letter K, 14200-04K, government buildings did not include the police facilities and or the detention facilities. So we wanted to make sure that we added that and included that in this code amendment. Also under the use regulations under Article 4, detention and correction facilities, we wanted to make sure that we included the exemption for police detention facilities because if you look at things like prisons, they had some specifications that they couldn't be within 1,000 feet of schools or residential areas. And again, when we think about police, and we're thinking about what the police use their detention facility for, it's not really a prison in the way we think of a prison. And so that's the whole reason for adding the clarifications in this code amendment. Typically, and we've had discussions with Chief Dustman and the police department, typically these are, holding people between 24 and 48 hours. They're going to be released out of confinement and or moved to other long-term facilities. And so we updated that. There's also a chart section that we needed to update and to correlate with these code amendments. And so with this, fairly short and simple, staff believes that, with these code amendments and these policy changes that will help the city as we continue to, look and finalize the location of a police facility. We believe these changes will help in achieving that goal. And so with that is my report on this.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I'm guessing the changes are one, that potential location is near an elementary school and would need to be changed in order to put it there.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah. So what happens is, regardless, obviously we're probably aware of some of the places that we've been
Right.
looking. Regardless of where that goes, when you had that 1,000-foot, it really does restrict where you're at. And so
Right.
whether it's residential areas, churches, or schools, that is one of the biggest factors for making it more difficult to find a new location for a police department. So.
My other assumption would be we're looking at a vote for a police facility or a tax that could help with this in August, and that it would be really important to define the difference between detention center and prison for potential concerns through a vote.
Correct. Yes.
So we're cleaning it up, making it really clear to have the ability to put a new police facility where we need it to go.
Yes.
Or want it to go.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
That seems very clear and needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Oh, wait, is there anybody here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anybody here who would like to speak against this case? Hearing none, public portion of this is closed, and I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve case 24-175-03, UDO amendment number 66.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you, and we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes. Case number 24-175-03, UDO amendment number 66 has been approved. Next case, 24-175-04, UDO amendment number 67, home-based business. Staff report, please.
Okay, so in 2022, the Missouri General Assembly House passed a bill which they call 1662, which has made some significant changes to our home-based business, what cities can regulate. And it's not just Independence, it's all cities in Missouri. Some of the things that are prohibited under this new House bill include things like prohibiting, we can't restrict hours of operation, for example. I guess I should probably start by saying one of the reasons that I believe the House started looking at this was, during COVID, there was a lot of people working from home. My guess is maybe there were some municipalities that started making people working from home to get some kind of licenses or something or permits. And so I believe they felt the need to look at that, address that situation, because obviously, people can't work from home, and that's at that time was actually necessary for people. And so it's my understanding that that's what brought about these changes. However, it does have an effect on the cities and how we can regulate and manage those operations. So under the House bill, cities are prohibited from restricting hours. We're prohibited from having people, have services by appointments, and prohibiting any particular operation from operating in a home-based business, prohibiting mail order or telephone sales from home-based business work, and or we can't prohibit the storage or use of equipment that does not cause effects outside the home or an accessory building. Much of what you see in the code is actually language that is actually from the actual bill. There are some things, and I'll talk about here in a second, that we have modified with that because the House bill does allow cities and municipalities to narrowly provide some regulations on businesses that are what we'll call other home businesses. We'll talk about that here in a second. But in addition to businesses that qualify as what we will call a no impact, which is what's defined in that bill, there are things in there that cause it to be no impact. The language, the cities are prohibited from limiting the number of employees or customers that can go, as long as the residence, for example, has a fire code, and depending upon how many people can be in that residence based on the fire code, is the number of people that can go back and forth to that business. There's also some things about accessory structures. So essentially, if you had an accessory structure, the bill says that we can't prohibit from somebody working out of that accessory structure. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit here in a second. And cities can't make somebody rezone. So like if it's a home-based business, we can't tell them that you have to be zoned a commercial district. So then there's provisions for what we call other home-based businesses. And other home-based businesses would be businesses that are an impact, we'll call that. And what does that mean? So basically, an impact could be, excuse me, a business that requires a health permit, a business that has noxious fumes, smells, sounds, has traffic, causes traffic problems, and really has any other type of like federal or state regulations that we have to adhere by, traffic control, solid waste, hazardous waste, pollution. Those are the things that would be a home-based business that would not be considered a no-impact home-based business, so it would be other home-based business. And so we feel, and we went back and forth with our city councilors, our law firm, to make sure that this particular code, and understand too that they have, I don't remember how many cities, but they have like over 50 other cities that they represent. And so this is language that some cities have adopted. Obviously, they may have had some minor changes to fit their particular cities. There are some cities that still have not updated their codes to be in compliant with these new state laws. But we feel that what we have put in here still protects the city from, people operating certain home-based businesses that may cause problems in neighborhoods to the best of our abilities. Now, with that being said, is it true that some of this may be reactionary? There may be some people that don't come to get a permit, and maybe they are an impact, and we find out about it later. And so, yes, in that case, it would be reactionary. But as our attorneys have said, it's going to kind of be more of a learn as we go. We'll find out what works. We'll find out if there's anything that we're allowed to make changes to, if we find out that some things are not working. But given that, we spent quite a few months working on this, actually. So, again, this was adopted in 2022. We are now addressing it to make sure that our code is in compliant with that new House bill. So with that, that completes my presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Yeah, we'll start. So, let's just suppose something. Suppose somebody doesn't want to buy a commercial building, but they want to have a business. So can't they just buy a house now and have a business in there? How are you going to know if they live in there?
So, I mean, a lot of good questions.
So we're just going to learn as we go.
The answer is, I mean, as somebody, again, this is where some of the language, and I'll express to you that, when we first looked at this, there's a lot of things in here that kind of open up a lot of holes for us. And it really does challenge our zoning codes. It challenges our use codes. So I'm not going to deny that those are some challenges. And we fully expect that we're going to get a lot of questions like that. And the answer is, if somebody does want to buy a house, and if they fall under a type of business that wouldn't be considered a no impact, in theory, they could operate. Now, there are some things in our code that we do regulate. We do regulate uses, so we do regulate uses on certain types of businesses, certain businesses that require a special use permit, for example. But, generally speaking, your answer, it depends, but at the same time, yes, somebody could, if they do truly fall under that no impact, they wouldn't be required to even come to the city and get a permit or a license. They could just operate. And until it became an issue, or we found out about it and found out that, well, there's some, maybe environmental thing that they're doing that requires mitigation or something, and so therefore they're no longer an impact, or they're doing something that requires them to have a health permit, or they did something to their property that requires a building permit, or they're doing something against fire code, then it would be reactionary. One thing to point out, there is some language in here for if, for example, somebody buys a house and wants to do a business and they want to add an accessory structure or want to add an expansion to their home, we feel that the statute allows us to include language in here that would have to come before this planning commission to get approval. Some of the things that are different from this, if you recall, we had the current code We have like minor home-based businesses, and then we have major home-based businesses. The major home-based businesses are the type of businesses where if somebody wants to come to the house for services, like a hair salon or something. With this new House bill, that would not be allowed to come before you, provided they are no impact, they're not causing noxious odors or smells or sounds, and they're not creating a traffic problem. And so that's one of the things that's different from this code versus what we currently have. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions about that type of thing moving forward. And I can tell you, we've already had questions from people asking about, with that new House bill, do I need to get a permit or a license? Or and understand too, this is for home-based businesses within the City of Independence. So, we've had the situation already where somebody had a home-based business in another city asking if they needed to get a license in our city, and the answer is, well, you're not a home-based business in our city, you still need to get a license. So, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of that, but hopefully that kind of helps answer some of that question.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a few questions, and I'd like to clarify for the record. So there is a lot, well, in fact, the entire old ordinance is blocked out.
Yep.
And so this has come from legislation from Jeff City. We've adopted it, or we plan to adopt it, using it as a base for our new code, or what's allowable.
Yep.
And you guys have made minor tweaks. So my assumption is, as we learn more, would there be the opportunity for additional guardrails, I guess would be the word, if we do find out they violate? Let me give you one example with the no hours of business. And yet we have noise codes in our residential neighborhoods. So what would trigger that somebody has become based on the noise rule, a violation, and that now they really shouldn't do business after 10 o'clock and before 8 o'clock because they're too noisy?
So, very good question. On the surface, I would say if they are creating a noise issue, this particular statute does allow us to basically say that they're no longer a no impact. However, that being said, the statute has, and it's kind of a line in there that talks about if there's a question, then it becomes a judicial question, which pretty much leaves it open to if there is an interpretation, then it's just going to have to be something that ends up going in front of a judge. But I would say just on the surface of that then that means that a business is no longer no impact if they're having loud noises at night, for example. But I mean, very good question. I mean, that's the type of thing that we've been spending months talking about hypotheticals about what if people want to do this, what if people want to build an accessory store. I've talked to Cindy personally about one of these issues. It's like there are some ways, and I won't mention them here, but there are some scenarios that we're kind of curious about how they can
Well, my next question would be, so if this is it, because we're adopting what has been presented from Jeff City and making some changes, what would any kind of response from neighbors be? What would their options be? Does it then become going back to judicial, and there really is no city?
Yeah, and I think that's going to have to be that reactionary part.
Okay.
Where if we are getting calls because somebody's doing something, maybe there are too many cars on the street, or maybe they're parking in the grass, or maybe somebody's operating, doing something that's causing a lot of noise with air tools or something. And unfortunately, at that point, it'll be reactionary. Now, obviously, we have a robust business licensing, staff and program. but unfortunately, we can't necessarily be everywhere at all times. Sometimes we do have to rely on the public to let us know if something's happening. But yeah, I mean, a good question.
My final question was, I can't think how long ago it was. It wasn't too long ago, but there was a neighborhood in the city that had reported a business going on in a resident, and due to the number of people who did not want that to be able to be occurred, I think we did not recommend it on to city council. Does this now open the door back up for
I will
those
say
situations?
Potentially.
Okay.
I would like to comment and flip the coin on this conversation for the awareness of all the people that are here and what the benefits can bring adopting this
Yep.
city, all cities in Missouri. The wealth gap is humongous in the United States.
Mhm.
The middle class is disappearing. If there's no middle class, then we're doing a bigger gap, which we've been deep problem, which is only poor the rich. The reason this is adopted in many cities in the United States is because of that.
Yep.
Trying to bring the middle class up.
Yep.
Because the nearest business, let's say a supermarket, and the neighborhood is 5 miles away, you need a car to get there. The age differential in the United States is huge.
Mhm.
A lot of people are getting age and they need a car to do it, which they don't have. Sometimes transportation to get to these food stores. This allows this business with a lot of questions, of hopefully, that's why I like what is written here
Yep.
allows us to act upon when we see a negative impact, depending on the business, right?
Yep. Yep.
But allows also regular folks to get into the wagon of the middle class.
Yep.
And not to go to the nearest quick trip to buy a soda or to buy an apple, banana, right?
Yep.
Only the rich and the people and the powerful can do that. I like the idea that this is open the door, but also in a responsible manner.
Yep.
Right? And I like the city taking time to discuss this because it's a huge conversation to have among communities. But on the other hand, when neighborhoods are decisive not to approve these type of businesses in a neighborhood, they just create an HOA, and they they decide that the neighborhood is not going to allow that, and that's what will be going in that way too. That's why the city needs to keep closer look at HOA regulations, right? To not discriminate and allow people to be able to do whatever they want with the property they bought. That's the law of the land.
Mhm. Yes, and keep in mind, while there's challenges, to us implementing this, understand that the whole reason behind it, as you said, was to be able to open up those people, because we are seeing more people working from home, and there's a lot of people that can work from home perfectly fine without ever causing an issue, and so that was really the whole intent behind it. So hopefully I didn't try to sound overly negative, but those are some of the things that we think about when we look at making a code update to make sure that it's fair and equally presented to everybody in the community. But yes, I mean, the intent was really to open that up for to create positive businesses that can operate. Yeah.
And it really pushes to citizens that are trying to do a small business from home to abide to the laws and the codes that we have in the city and engage with the city in a
Yep.
more intimate way, paying their taxes and be conscious of the codes that we have set forward in order to live in a more unified community. That's what I'm looking forward with this proposal.
I would agree with Mr. Torres, and I think that what we don't want is we don't want people taking negative advantage of this system and disturbing the neighborhood. If the neighborhood is benefited by this business, then they'll support the business and they won't complain about it. So I think my question is more, along the lines of sometimes citizens don't know what to do when they have a problem. So their default is either to complain or call the police. And so the police are already stressed and overworked. We don't have enough of them right now. So as a city considered putting something on their sometimes difficult website to look at, where they can, say, hey, if you have a concern about this, this is the procedure, this is the things you need to look for, and kind of advise them how to go about doing this instead of just calling the police. And, that's, I think the more information people have, the more, the less problems there's going to be.
So, yes, unfortunately, I don't control our website, but we are actively looking to, at least on our community development page, be able to provide some more insight. And we're looking at this, obviously, with multi-language, having to explain what our codes are and things like that. So we are actually actively doing that right now. As far as getting it on the website, I can't necessarily speak to that, but that is something that we are actually actively looking at. And it's not just, it wouldn't just be this code amendment, but it's all our other abatements and what's expected and what are the codes, and trying to put it in a more simple, straightforward way so people understand what it means. Sometimes you read the code and it's very difficult for people to understand. So, but yeah, we are going through that. When the website changed, we had to change a lot of our links, and we had to change a lot of the formatting that we had, and so everything's different.
So basically, we don't really have a choice
We do not.
to approve this or disapprove it. And so is there any plan, and I don't even know if this would need to be, but is there some thought about maybe revisiting this after 6 months, a year?
Got to go to Jeff City.
Yeah, I mean, we can always revisit any of these. I would say there's always a choice, but in order to be compliant with the state laws, technically, yeah, that's why we're here. So.
Well, again, we can document this very well. The city can document this very well, and the economic impact
Yep.
that this can bring.
Yep.
And those numbers not lie. Are we going to have problems? Yes, we have problems, even with the economic impact of big players in our market. We do have those problems. We hear it every day in the news. But we have them. Yes, we're going to have them. But that's why we have this body and this city to mitigate and to bring the dialogue into the place.
Well said. Yes.
I just feel necessary to say welcome, Pepe Torres, because it is the reason that we have a diverse body up here to think through those things.
Yep.
And as somebody who, we've had some issues in the city with homeowners and homeowner associations that have hurt the unity of the city. And so I appreciate that tone and that reminder. And the thought that somebody could walk up their street to get something they need versus waiting for a ride somewhere to get what they need is just such a important way of thinking. So, well done.
Would you like the motion?
No, not yet.
Well, what are you waiting for then?
So I was just letting everybody talk because that's the kind thing to do. So, yeah, just to weigh in on this, having looked pretty deep at it, I am, of course, there are red flags all over this for me because, and I'm really sorry, and I get to leave and you guys get to deal with it. But the reality is this is going to put so much more work and burden on the city. So I know we don't really have a choice. Kudos to you to putting in the best guardrails that you possibly can. But it just felt like all the work that you all have done over the last decade and a lot of the work that this body has done just got undone. And the safety of in some situations, because yes, Commissioner, you're correct. It opens up some doors, but by the same token, there are nefarious situations that are going to pop up too. And it's just like we get 2 steps forward and now we're 10 back. And so thank you, Jeff City. I appreciate this, and I'm sure the city appreciates it more. But I know that was a lot of work to try to at least figure out how to navigate this. But it's really scary. If we had incredibly great people, then cool. But that just is not always the case. And you could get a lot of different things in backyards that nobody even thought of. So that's the danger. And your neighbors don't have any say. Much. Except for the things you put in there that safeguard it. So yeah, unless they get caught, man. There you go. So that's all I have to say. Now you can motion.
Don't you have to open it up for?
Yes, I do. Is there anyone here who would
If
like
you
to
taught me
speak?
anything, that's what you've taught me.
You're right, you're right. No, you taught me that. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Hearing and seeing none, the public portion of this case is closed. I would entertain
I'll
any
make a
more
motion
comments.
that we approve
Or
case number 24-175-04 UDO amendment number 67.
And I will second that.
Thank you. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes, reluctantly.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes, with red flags attached. The motion has passed. Okay, ready for roundtable. Anything for the greater good?
Staff does not. We do have a full meeting again for the next one. So there may be a few cases that end up getting pushed, but it looks like it's going to be a full meeting next time as well. So.
Okay.
I guess I have a question about the case we continued, that he's not going to be present. That's fine for you guys to speak on his behalf? Or is there something
yeah, I mean,
else we need to make
we
happen?
can always relay what the
Okay.
applicant has said. It's not really a requirement per se. It always
Okay.
is beneficial. We always inform them that they really should be here for questions, especially if there's like members of the public or something that are speaking for or against it. But again, this body can make a decision without the applicant present.
Well, we did tonight.
And they're required to re-notify?
This was to a date certain, correct? Yeah, so no, there wouldn't be, as long as it was continued to a date certain.
Did we just say 2 weeks?
Yeah, the July
July
9th.
9th, yeah.
That's right, the July 9th, yeah. So, yeah. As long as there's a record of when it was continued.
Okay.
Now generally, I'll kind of expand on that. Sometimes if, like in the first case you guys did, that was a really long one. We did re-advertise again for that because sometimes when you look at the state statutes and how that's written, one can maybe think that that's hard to follow when you're pushing a case off that long. So in those situations, we'll just re-advertise, even though I don't think that was a date certain, but even if it was a date certain, it's pretty far along. Typically, we don't really want to see them go out more than a month. Sometimes a little bit longer, but typically if it's longer than a month, we'll re-advertise it anyway.
And then I just have, I don't know whether it's a suggestion or whatever, and y'all can take it over, but I don't think it's helpful to have the maximum occupancy on the thing. I think that you should just go with whatever the applicant
Okay.
requests, just because sometimes we may not want them to have the maximum.
Yeah,
So if
and
they only request 4, okay.
you know, when we looked at that, and Commissioner Wiley, we did kind of take that in consideration, but one of these, you know, was only a 2-bedroom, and the question really becomes, at what point does having maybe the maximum number in there, even if maybe the fire code would allow it, does it make sense? And so yeah, so again, it's one of those where if it was a 4-bedroom house, probably not a big deal. But when you're talking about a 2-bedroom house, it's got limited square footage. Sometimes opening up that occupancy, you know, even though the code allows it, may or may not work. But
But it's in the general code for short-term rentals, only up to a maximum of
Yes.
this number.
Yeah, and-
So technically, if they're getting that, then they know and they can make a decision.
yeah, and ultimately you're right. They could get it, but they don't necessarily have to advertise it that way. If they really only want 4 people in there, and if they only want adults in there, then they can just advertise it that way. But yes, that is correct. And I do want to point out too, the kids are 5 years of age or younger. So
But the reality is you're telling them that anyway ahead of time, what their maximum
Yes.
is. And so if they choose under, then we should honor that.
yep.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 9:19.